But you left her marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive. Buried alive.
So you want to go to a real party?
Yo! Stop your grinning and drop your linen. Found him.
What do you think?
Very nice. It's very cool, Bateman, but that's nothing. What do you think?
You ain't seen nothing yet. White.
Impressive. Very nice.
I believe you're enjoying all this. Indeed, Captain. I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up!
Shh. Shh. Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.
Do you want to know about the future? I do. And I know you do too. That's why we do what we do, right here at the Singularity Lab, just for you. Do you want to know about stories about breaking technology? Science? Look right here, I'm looking at my sheet. Marty did it, why can't you? Remember, this is a public access channel. We rely on your donations, so just hit the Patreon. So we can continue to bring you updated science and technology, breaking news every single day.
I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Unidentified Celebrity Review. We have the most awesome community here, so thanks for all joining. Great to see you all in chat here. You know, I don't know about you, but my head is still spinning from those videos we saw at the beginning of the show and this weekend at the Big Phone Home too. Yeah, I'm not sure if today's discussion is going to help settle my rotation or propel it further, but I do know it's going to be fun. And we're going to be kicking things off here in a couple minutes. But first, I wanted to share an interesting intersection of wild ideas and science. You might be familiar with this wild idea if you've been watching Chris Lato's YouTube channel. One of his recent videos dives into the philosophical nature of UAP. He does a really great job of invoking wonder in his video, Dark Matter is Life, and it's worth a watch if you haven't already. And while there are some scientific nitpicks me and some of his usual opponents would likely have with some of the specifics, Chris's major point is quite profound. As we look at smaller and smaller scales, we continue to find life. But we don't even consider life existing at scales larger than ourselves. We might be a part of a larger whole, just like your cell of your body makes up yourself. Perhaps our entire visible universe is but an atom of a life form that exists on an unfathomable scale. But even stranger than that thought is that there might be evidence suggesting that this indeed is the case. Our understanding of physics tell us that at a large enough scale, all parts of the universe should look the same. Just like if you look down at a beach, you can't tell the differences between the arrangements of the grains of sand. The problem is, we see order beyond this calculated scale. Superclusters of galaxies and quasars exhibit structures at scales that should not be physically possible. These structures literally shouldn't be able to interact with each other in order to take form. Some of these recent discoveries have begun to make physicists rethink some of their most fundamental principles. But maybe both the principles and observations are correct. Instead of a self-forming structure, perhaps this is similar to a human being forming a sandcastle on the beach. Order imposed by an intelligent entity on a scale unknowable to the individual grains of sand. Seems to me that's where the evidence is pointing. But like many threads in this topic, any answers just lead to more questions. But we'll keep asking them. And as we dive deep into these rabbit holes, and we have two men wearing headlamps and guiding our journey. If the unidentified celebrity review is a life form, these are our eyes and ears. Let's hear it for our hosts, Luis Jimenez and Michael Mataluni.
Hey, where's Michael Mataluni? We hear him, we don't see him.
Having a little cam issues there, Mike?
Can you guys, am I?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you.
You can't see me?
We can't see
this
you.
happened once before. We got a black screen here.
Yeah.
But, we can hear
Going on.
I think you might have a bad connection or cable, maybe.
Okay,
Possible.
I'm gonna have to reboot here, boys. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to reboot.
All right. Try and reboot. We'll be here.
All right.
All right. Just later.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. He always comes back. You guys, hello. Good morning. Good evening. Good day. Good afternoon. And aloha, Michael.
Yeah?
Got
We're
it.
here?
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name's Luis Jimenez. That is Rather Be Squidding. Below is Michael Mataluni, as always, your co-host with the mostest.
Dude, today is gonna be one of those days.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those days. It's gonna be one of those days. Just bear with it. What can you do? I mean, I did almost zero planning for the show. By the way, is your computer? Do you have our bios up and everything? Because I didn't make a show sheet.
You didn't make a show sheet. That's all right.
I didn't make a show sheet today. Yeah, man, I'm tired. I'm tired. I didn't make a show sheet today. I was like, we're going to invite Tyler. We're going to talk to Tyler for as long as Tyler wants to talk to us for. And we're going to talk about some news and go home. I just want to get to Saturday. I just want to get to Saturday.
But God love the chat, man. So I'm just enjoying the civil war that's ensuing. I mean, I think Rather is number one. That's my personal opinion. I think Rather is.
What does that mean? Rather's number one.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
I wasn't aware there's a war going on.
You guys aren't watching the chat. Oh man.
Oh, the chat right now? What's happening?
Well, it was a little earlier.
Oh,
So
okay,
Rather,
totally
yeah. No, Rather is like on his way. Rather's moving up in the world, and that's the bottom line.
Got it. So what is he, Tony Stark of this enterprise? Is that what's going on? I mean, whatever. Rather, you want to take the reins, baby, go for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we didn't do any planning for this show, so I think we just handed over to Rather, and we just hang out.
Rather go.
Yeah, I don't know if I rise high enough, I definitely will have the guts, and I'll give you $500,000 a month. We'll see if that happens.
There you go. Let's see what happens. By the way, speaking of, check out the Patreon. Check out our links in the description below. They will lead you to our Spotify and iTunes podcasts of the show. By the way, I've uploaded day 1 and day 2. The podcast, the GarageBand only lets you put 8 hours of content in. Actually, 7 hours and 50 minutes. It doesn't let you put anything past that. So, the show's cut off a little early on the podcast, but hey, you can always come back here and check out the rest of the show if need be. But also, we got a merch store, different ways to support. The beautiful thing about the show is that you don't have to pay to get the same show everybody else who does pay gets. It's a open show. Everybody gets the same show. So that's the beautiful thing. If you decide to donate, guys, it's because you love the show and you love the show 5 days a week. UFOs and UAP talk here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Technology and future tech on the Singularity Lab Tuesdays and Thursdays, which sometimes comes back around the UAP almost every Tuesday and Thursday in one way or another.
We do have we have Tom Rogan coming on tomorrow, which is going to be dope.
Sweet. Yeah. Dude, that is cool. I have no idea who's coming on Friday, but stay tuned.
Rather will make it the Rather and Mick show featuring Lou and Mike.
Man, did you see Mick West posted a picture of Danny Sheehan's writing that he did on the phone home, and I was like, "You do love our show." You see, he watches it. I know you're watching it, Mick. It's a guilty pleasure for you.
I think what it is whenever we start talking shit, UFO Blueprint puts out the Mick West spotlight.
Is that what he does?
I think that's what's happening.
Is that what's going down? That's
Pretty
funny.
sure.
Whatever it is, I love it.
Yeah, either way, it's still great. Guys, if you're in the show, of course, like, subscribe, share the show. Let everybody know we're going live right now with Tyler Zahradnik. Would you like to introduce Tyler?
I would love
Michael?
to introduce Tyler Zahradnik. I've got, you know what? I've even got the production sheet here. Even though we don't have a show sheet, we've got a production sheet. So
nice.
We're all good.
Excellent.
This gentleman is the co-founder of Contact Tour, a military veteran and audio engineer, also the man behind the scenes at this year's Making Contact Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Zahradnik.
Thanks for having me. What's going on, gentlemen?
Dude,
Yeah,
pleasure
brother.
was mine, man.
You got those blue blockers going? What's going on?
Yeah, man.
You know, I sleep with them on. I shower with them on. They're on when I'm doing jujitsu. They never come off.
They're definitely part of the Tyler Zahradnik brand. That is for sure.
There's a brand.
I think so. I think you got a brand, man. I think you're a walking brand. You're a good looking dude.
Man,
shit.
it's
If I were you, I'd
Rather.
brand myself. Oh, dude, forget about it. Rather's a rising star. Pretty soon he's going to be leaving everyone in the dust.
That's it.
I mean, Tyler, you're a good looking man, but you're no Daniel Miller, so I think we should all calm it down.
That's
You
true.
know, I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know who has a nicer shaped head. It's all about shape. You know, it's all about the shape.
You definitely don't want to see me with a shaved head, unless, of course, you like oddly shaved watermelon looks. So, dude,
for having
okay.
me.
Dude, it was a pleasure. So you hit me up the other night and you're like, hey, man, we're going to be on this show on Discovery Plus. I was like, that's awesome. I watched the show today, got a real kick out of it. I thought, honestly, your part was the most interesting. Everything else I'd pretty much heard before. And there was, they definitely did a great job of explaining the difference between close encounters of the first kind all the way up to, I believe they got up to the 7th, which is like essentially, killing cows and people. I was like, okay, all right, we're expanding the J. Allen Hynek scale big time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's the name of the show on Discovery Plus? I know that
tell us
I
about it.
have a membership.
So the name of the program that we were featured on. So just to clarify, it's not a Contact Tour production.
Mm-hmm.
We were in communication with the executive director of Discovery Channel, Julie, and we're working on a few other projects that I can't talk about right now in this moment. But through being in contact with Julie and a few executives over at Discovery and the network we've been building over there, this other opportunity came across to us to feature on another program that was being produced by Anomaly Entertainment. So we met and had a meeting through Zoom with the executive producer, Mark Marabella. He explained the layout of the show to us and that it was going to be an overview of the close encounter scale from 1 through 7. And in that conversation, I was like, oh, there's 6 and 7 now. Like, I'm curious as to what those are.
Yeah.
And he kept it pretty vague. Mostly I wanted to get on that phone call with the team and Mark just to feel the intention behind the show.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you guys saw it for whoever watched it. The narrative arc was very horrifying and scary. And it had a lot of the innuendo and the stigma behind extraterrestrials that personally I don't subscribe to. And I had my opinions about it. But I saw this as an opportunity, and the rest of the team saw it as an opportunity to get our foot in the door with the mainstream general audience that watches travel and discovery, that has not been exposed to the Human Contact Initiative. And we can be an alternative perspective in the dialogue about the encounters. And we went to a site on location in Los Angeles, and my fiance, our close friend and team member Tim Cash, and myself got interviewed. It took a couple hours. And during the whole filming process, we actually had, I think, 8 different sightings come over the film crew. And we were talking with the executive producer, Mark Marabella, and he said in the decade of him making shows about UFOs and traveling across the world and interviewing contactees and experiencers and recipients of sightings, he's never once actually seen anything in person. So it was a really seminal moment for the team because we've been working on this project for years. And for me, on a personal level, I've been researching this for nearly a decade. So to see all of this unfold and come to fruition where we're finally reaching millions of people and you know, introducing them to these novel and noetic concepts about using consciousness to make contact with extraterrestrials, I'm just extremely grateful for the opportunity. And I'm extremely grateful for my brother, Tim Cash, for working diligently behind the scenes to bring this all together. He was extremely instrumental. And without Tim, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, no, I've been talking to Tim. We've been meaning to get a cup of coffee. Rather, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, what's the name of the show? What do we watch?
I just went right over that, didn't I?
You sure did.
You guys don't even know the name.
You sure did. You sure did. Oh my God. Well, here's the thing, Tyler, is I didn't ask them to watch it because they've done so much in the last 2 weeks. I was just like, I can't ask these guys to watch an hour and a half show right now. I'm just going to give them the week to just sort of decompress. But I watched it because I'm a maniac, and I wanted to at least have one of us know that, you know, had watched it.
What's it called?
Aliens Declassified, right?
Alien Encounters Declassified.
That's what it was. Okay, so Aaron Desari made a funny comment. He's like, welcome to the show. I didn't like the show, but I really liked your part. I guess I did open that way. It's not that I didn't like the show.
You said he liked his part, I thought.
No, that's what I said. That's what Aaron said, is that I liked Tyler's part. And it was the most compelling part of the show. Like, the entire crew stopped. You got to see behind the scenes stuff, like the lights that they were setting up.
I filmed that video. We had a Sony A7 III on site, and we always travel with that camera, like in Tim's truck, just because it films in 4K. It has an ISO of 105,000, so it's amazing in low light. We don't have the best lens on it. It's only a 70 millimeter, but we always have it because not only for myself, but the other members of the team, we've been having sightings almost on a daily basis for almost a year at this point. So we just always have the camera on us just to document these random sightings as they occur. So we were there on site, and it was towards the end of my interview, and in between, you know, the different questions and going over the narrative of like what we're filming, there's breaks in between, you know, and they sequence all that footage together to make it seamless, and it just flows for the show. And the last break before the last question, I was just looking up in the sky as they were adjusting lighting because it was getting darker while we were filming. And Tim points out to me, he's like, yo, they're right above us right now. And I look up, and if you guys watch the episode, you'll see how all of that unfolds. And so it wasn't just myself, Sharon, and Tim seeing this, but there was a film crew of 8 people that had filmed multiple UFO programs before, and they produced Shark Week for the Discovery Channel. So they're a very experienced, seasoned crew. And they can distinguish and discern between things that are conventional in the sky and things that are not. And what we saw was definitely an anomaly.
Did they point any of the production cameras at it?
They did, but those kinds of cameras are macro. So they're meant for close range, very specific lighting, and they don't pick up anything in the sky. And
so thank God you had that camera in the truck, because if not, it would have looked really weird.
Yeah,
it would have looked. They might have had to cut it out if you didn't have the footage, because it would have just been a whole bunch of people going, "Look at that! Oh my God!" And then it would have been labeled as one of those shows as, here we go. Exactly. Here we go. They're just doing those things, dude. That's a crazy coincidence. Did you guys? Yeah, probably not. Well, according to you, not coincidence, right? Mike, you got something?
I'm dying to go out. I'm dying to go out with this dude. I just want to hang. I just want to chill with Tyler. I just want to follow Tyler around and see what happens.
For real, no, that's. I mean, he's out here in Cali, so is Tim. And they've already invited me. And like I said, as soon as the lady's better, where she can come with us, man. Like, dude, we're gonna do it.
We should do a whole field trip. We'll just record the whole thing.
Yeah, well, so going back to the show, it was like, I don't know exactly what parts of it you don't subscribe to, but just, you know, FYI for everybody out there, it was almost like a film length. I don't know if they're doing this, if the premiere episode was like super long, or was that just a one-off?
That's not going to be a one-off. It's going to be an entire series. Now
Wow.
we have
It was an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's like docu-series length. filming.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an hour and a half per episode, to my knowledge. Now, there hasn't been any more discussions about us being involved in future episodes.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, I can't go into too much detail now, but we are working on other projects that specifically are going to be following Contact Tour and the Citizens Diplomacy Initiative of Making Contact.
Right.
And that's our mission, is to reach as many people as possible and to present this information in a palatable and digestive way that is mainstream and has scientific components that can be quantified and verified for people that are more linear and materialistic, in that paradigm. So everyone can start going out and doing this. And that's really the goal here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, okay. So the rest of the show, just so everybody knows, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because, like I said, there are some things where I'm like, oh man, this is tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. But I mean, they were going into alien implants. They were going into cattle mutilations. Yeah, like I mean, they covered the whole gamut and they did it really well. And it was well produced. It was fun to watch, but like I said, a lot of the stuff around it, I already known or seen or heard about, but your segment stuck out like a sore thumb. Like it was the most original part of the entire show, and it was also the most unscripted, which was cool too.
That entire interview was completely improvised on the spot, and there was no predetermined dialogue between Mark Marabella and I. He was sitting there asking questions. And I will say, though, that the intention behind the narrative arc that they were trying to portray in this episode, just by the questions they were asking me, is they were really pushing on the malevolent invasion threat button. And I'm not the guy to push on that button. Trust me, because I'm ready to intellectually have this civil debate with anybody about this topic. And the one thing I wish they incorporated into the show, specifically pertaining to the abduction phenomenon, is they did not mention the definitive, unequivocal, documented evidence that there are aspects of the intelligence community and the national security apparatus that have been staging extraterrestrial abductions for decades for the psychological warfare value. That was not mentioned once. And majority of the interview that I did, I was mentioning, do you guys know what the NRO is? Do you know what the NSA is? Do you know who the CIA is? Do you know who the FBI are? Like, I went through the entire alphabet soup of these different agencies that have been, rolling out these counterintelligence operations for decades, and that didn't get mentioned in the program once. And I think that is an important part of the picture. And I'm not here saying that every single instance of someone having an experience of an abduction is, it's just covert human ops. No, because I think statistically speaking, and me being rational and level-headed about it, there's people out there having experiences that would be considered otherworldly and paranormal that may have an explanation that's not prosaic and it's not conventional, and we can't just put everything on covert operations. But that's missing a massive piece of the picture. That's like me painting you a portrait of the landscape of the phenomenon, and I'm leaving half of that picture unfinished and leaving you to fill in the blanks with the same information that's going to be regurgitated and repeated. We're not presenting all of the angles to this. And that's what I was trying to do on that program, and say, listen, I'm hearing all these people out. A lot of these people I'm feeling into sharing their experiences are probably telling the truth. They genuinely believe that this has happened to them. And I mean, just look at the work of Dr. Johnny Mack, the Harvard psychologist. He's interviewed hundreds of people, and he's been on national television with these people who allegedly were abducted. And he concluded that there was a real phenomenon here, and he's not the only person. And the nature of that phenomena is yet to be fully explained and fully uncovered. And I think we'll get deeper into that subject as time develops and we take more initiatives to research it. But it's also really crucial that we acknowledge the human initiated psyops that's happening in staging ET abductions, because that has profound implications behind the agenda and the modus operandi of the people that are initiating these operations. They want to provoke a collective general perception of fear regarding extraterrestrials. And it's unequivocally clear. I drive up and down LA a few times a week, and on every bus stop, billboard, poster, there's the new American Horror Story of an ET with sharp teeth making out with a vampire.
Right.
Right. Come on. And we know that Hollywood, majority of Hollywood, is deeply compromised and infiltrated by the intelligence community. And there's documentation showing this. Operation Mockingbird, it was commenced back in the 60s, and there's no confirmed ending to that operation. It could very well still be happening, and I believe that it's still happening. So we have to really have discernment about everything that's unfolding in the space, and we have to take all information into account. We can't cherry pick and be biased about everything that's out there. You know,
I'm so happy you said that, because that's I mean, just the movie Mirage Men sort of laid that out beautifully, where, you know, they do use this, you know, like, it wouldn't shock me if we drugged our own citizens and threw them in vans and did God knows what, and then put them back out in the desert, and they woke up, they're like, where the hell have I been for, you know, the last 10 hours?
And they're doing that to military personnel in an entirely different context. They're giving psychedelic substances to enlisted personnel without telling them what they're taking, just for the experimental scientific value of it. And there's military installations where they spray experimental chemicals into the air and see how the general population of that base reacts to it.
Are you saying this is current, or are you talking about MK Ultra?
Currently happening, and outside of MK Ultra.
Currently.
Yes.
Yeah, do you have any names or anything we could Google to kind of verify this?
I would say look into the subject of what all the conspiracy theorists dub chemtrails. The actual name for this is stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. That's the actual title of that operation. And they're using
that wouldn't be military bases, and that would be kind of, you know, general population, atmospheric kind of manipulation, wouldn't it? Or
I think that it's playing into both angles of that. I think that wherever these aircraft are coming from, and not to dive too deep into the rabbit hole here, but this is my opinion of it. I think that these aircraft that are putting these experimental aerosol compositions into the air are coming from private sector military installations. There's not a civilian airliner that's probably doing this. They're probably rigging out some kind of C-130 aircraft that's capable of carrying that kind of equipment, and they're sending it out on a black covert operation to do something like that.
Is this based, but like, what evidence is this based on? Like, where are you getting this evidence?
There was a presentation by Danny Sheehan, actually. I think, I can't remember the exact year. And I never really looked into the whole chemtrail phenomenon too much, just because that's a little bit too outside of my element of interest. But just doing my research into the Romero Institute and the New Paradigm Institute, and listening to a lot of Danny's lectures, he did an entire presentation about these operations. And I'll actually send you guys the link, because I want to make sure that I'm putting out information that can actually be researched and it's not entirely speculative. But there are materials out there that you can look up and do your own due diligence and see that, okay, there's definitely some kind of operation happening here. It's not a hypothesis. There's probably some truth to this.
It's okay. So
you got more convincing to do for me.
I didn't even think we were going to get into this part of the conversation. Honestly, this is something I was not prepared for.
It's just the coffee. It's just the
coffee. There you go. John Brusso with a $10 donation says, "Show us the ham radio 5 tones, brother. Also, do you have a colored tone board from Encounters of the Third Kind set up? Please, yes."
I think I asked you that last time we chatted. I'm dying for that.
Yeah,
I wish there was a way for me to screen share. Oh, I can screen share?
You can screen share, yeah.
Just no chemtrails. You're not allowed to screen share chemtrails.
If I gave you guys
not at all
a sneak peek of the upcoming expedition recap that we're producing right now?
Hell yeah.
Because I think that question we just got would kind of just show, rather than just me talking about it. And I'm really excited about it. Ask me how to get Greer on your show without getting Greer.
Thank you for the $5 donation. I mean, we got some funny people on this show.
We got an awesome Chatterverse. I love it so much.
Being Greer's former publicist, just email support@seriousdisclosure.com. I think that's how you get in touch with him.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
But I would
rather write that down.
Let me go ahead and get this opened up really quick, just so I can have it prepared. Now, this isn't the finished export of it, because I go through a few different exports and I do different graphics and animations and things like that. But I think for where it's at right now, it's just raw footage, and I think you guys would appreciate just raw footage.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Let me go share my screen here. I was gonna share my screen. Okay, window, QuickTime, share. Has lost permission to capture your screen file. I'm getting the Chrome problems. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Chrome. I'm on Chrome.
Chrome should be the best.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go, if you're on a Mac, maybe the system preferences and like grant it permission to your thing.
Oh, got to go to security and privacy, and then privacy, and then I have to go. Okay, I see it right here. It's bizarre though, because in that preference, Google Chrome's already selected, so it has permission.
Right. Yeah.
Damn,
I wish I had a force trying to stop you from sharing this information.
It's Discovery Plus.
Is it online? Can you share? Is it online, or is it a file on your computer?
No, it's open on my QuickTime right now. Yes,
you can actually, if you click share, you can actually share a video file instead of sharing your screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Because you can actually share the file directly from your computer.
Okay, now it's kind of a big file, so we'll just let this.
It won't. It just mirrors it. It doesn't. It's not down. It won't download it.
Whoops! It looks like your video file doesn't have a video track.
Boom. Perfect.
You know what? I tried. I really tried.
Yeah, it's all right. I blame the chemtrails.
Yeah, it's definitely the chemtrails. Okay, so let's get into. God, where do I start? Okay. Because we're trying to have, like, me and Michael have been discussing, like, how do we have this discussion of contact, alien experiences in a way that's sensitive to the people that have had these experiences, but at the same time still be able to go, yeah, I just don't believe it, or it just doesn't, I can't fathom it, right? Like, to be objective as we possibly can. It's very difficult because it's so sensitive, because it, like, in some of these cases it's insanely traumatic, and then there are those cases where they do ring true, where I'm like, damn, this person feels authentic, feels real. And so we're going to be having conversations with people like you, people like James Iandoli. I really want to talk to NK Kranda. There's got to be a way to have this conversation where we can understand the perspective of the experiencer, but also we have to ask the experiencer to understand our perspective. Like, we don't have the baseline that you have. So if we go, yeah, I don't believe it, or sorry, I can't put that on my senator's desk. I'm not saying that because I'm trying to write you off. I'm saying that just because that's what the reality is. That's the situation. Well, what do you got, rather?
Well, yeah, I would kind of like to know more about the natures of your contacts, because there are, like Lou was saying, actual abductions tales where people see entities and stuff, and then there's people, CE5, where you're seeing orbs and maybe kind of other not really, less real, if I want to say, kind of stuff. So, like, have you had any abduction kind of stuff, or is it mostly orbs and radio contact, that kind
Got
of?
it. Yeah, and I totally agree with your perspective on this, because coming from a military background, I'm a very analytical person about presenting things in a way that can be authenticated. I'm all about that, and I think that's the reason why my interest in this space and pursuing this is going to be so beneficial to the cause, because that's my mentality. Like, for example, Tim Cash and I, we go out there and we're about, let's get some good video footage and we can show to the world and present our case to people that there actually is a reality to this phenomenon. Let's record the electromagnetic field data. Let's hook up people to an EEG and pick up their neuroactivity as the sightings happen. Let's decode the radio feedback and convert it into audio signals and see what's there. I'm trying my absolute best to apply the scientific method to our expeditions So we can start bringing out PhDs and different physicists and different scientists that can confirm that they're also having these experiences, and there's a way to measure it and quantify it. So talking about my own experiences, and I'll share a bit more than I had on other interviews, and let you guys really know the full length of I guess the encounters I've had. So
you hear that, UCR Cheddarverse? Share with a friend. You're getting the scoop right now. Here we go.
Yeah. Under 4 heard story of Tyler Zahradnik. Please share.
So, and the reason I don't go into this that much is because I'm very rational. So I try to make sure what I do experience, there is tangible ways of me discerning, was this a lucid dream? Was I in between sleep? Like trying to just approach it from all angles like I always try to do. But first and foremost, the sighting I had back in 2013 when I was in high school, I lost a bet. First off, I'm gonna give you guys the whole story here. I lost a bet. I wrestled my entire career in school from 6th grade to senior year. I just
look like a wrestler. You look like a guy who was always looking to try to make weight. Oh man, I wrestled for 2 years, and I was like, you guys, maniacs. I'm out of here. I am out of here. You want me to put on a sweatsuit and starve to death?
Yeah.
Do you see who you're talking to? Anyway,
it definitely made the military easy, to put it that way.
Yes.
So
yes.
So I wrestled. I did a high school career, middle school career in wrestling, if I could even call it that. And I had a local friend of mine named Dave, who was varsity lacrosse, and him and I made a deal with each other, more of a bet. And I said, Dave, if you can make it through an entire season of wrestling, I will do an entire season of lacrosse. And we did a gentleman's agreement on it. We shook hands, and not only did he get through an entire wrestling season, but he pretty much destroyed everybody he went against. So I was actually really impressed. So I went ahead and I stuck to my end of the bargain, and I signed up for lacrosse, and I've never played a sport besides like a combative sport. So it was a totally new dimension of like athleticism for me. So I was not good at it. Yeah. And so to stay in shape for it, I would go running 3 nights a week after school around like 7 o'clock just to keep my cardio up, because lacrosse is just a ton of running back and forth on the field. And we had a mutual friend named John who was also on the lacrosse team, varsity. He lived on Bowline, which is the street adjacent to mine. It's the cross street. He was 3 blocks away. So him and I would go running together every other night. And it was one of the nights that we were going on our run. I would meet John at his house, and we'd stretch out front. We'd limber up. And we were out there just doing our thing and just chatting. And I didn't see these objects at first. He pointed them out to me because I was bending over and doing like my calisthenics. And he starts tapping my thigh, like aggressively, like, yo, look up. What is this? And I look up at the sky, and maybe 100 to 150 meters away, if I had to estimate the distance from these objects, were these glowing balls of plasma. That is the best way I can describe them. They were extremely bright. Their illumination was just brilliant. I've never seen anything up to that point in my life that looked that bright. And I was pretty familiar with what military aircraft looked like, or other aircraft, because in the borough I grew up in, it was only a 20-minute drive from Lakehurst Naval Base, McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix, and they would always routinely do military training exercises above the Pine Barrens where I lived. Very loud, low-flying Apaches, C-130s going up and doing exercises. Like, I was familiar. And my dad was a contractor on that joint service installation. So I'll go on and off the post with him to go to the commissary. So, and I was also recruited into the Sea Cadets, which is a prerequisite program for the Navy. So I had a very surface level understanding of what military equipment looks like in the air, how it performs, its characteristics. So I wasn't just inexperienced and naive. I kind of had a bit of, I was seasoned a little bit. So I saw this phenomenon in the air and instantly ruled out any kind of conventional explanation. And this is back in 2013 in the middle of the deep Pine Barrens of New Jersey. Drones really were not that popular at the time. I didn't even know anyone that had a drone. There were definitely not Chinese lanterns, and the way that they maneuvered in the sky, nothing to my knowledge that's man-made can do that. They were together in a triangular formation. They rotated, I think it was clockwise as they were moving together. They've all vanished, and then they all reappeared separately from each other, came back together in a triangle, did the same thing, and they just kept doing that. And it was the most bizarre experience I've ever had in my life up to that point.
That kind of sounds like Max sorry to cut you off, Max Moskovich's sighting in his video that he had, where there was a center point and then things kept coming in and then going out of it. Were you thinking the same thing?
No, but I mean, that sounds very similar. Ball lightning, kind of these weird plasmoid. Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Continue. Yeah.
No problem. And it was bizarre. So I was just staring at this. My jaw was on the floor because I just didn't know what to compare this to.
And you said 150 meters, right? So we're talking 300 yards. It's not far.
No,
okay.
And they were bright enough and low enough that the light that was illuminating from them was shining onto the rooftops of the houses below and the street at the same time. And I have a memory for some reason that the pavement, the cement of the road was damp. It must have rained, or there might have been some weather that made the ground wet, and it was reflecting on the ground. So these things were low enough to the ground that the light that was coming from them was illuminating the environment, and it was just so captivating to watch. It almost put me in some kind of like trance, and I kind of pulled myself out of it, and I was like, holy shit. And I looked over at John, and John looked like he was glitching. if I could really describe it, he was having like an extreme moment of cognitive dissonance where he was just like, I couldn't put words together. He couldn't articulate sentences. And I tapped him. I was like, yo, like, what is this? And he's like, they have to be lanterns. Those have to be lanterns. And I was like, bro, obviously, I mean, we're not stupid. What kind of fucking lanterns are those, Excuse my language, but. And I was like, man, I was saying to myself, I wish someone else would see this, because cars were driving by. The road that's right there was called Beechwood Boulevard, which is the main like town highway that runs through my little borough.
It's a boulevard.
It's a boulevard. So cars were just passing back and forth with these lights above it. And I was like, how come no one's seeing this? And then as synchronistic as it is, another mutual friend of mine who we grew up with, really small town, Beechwood, New Jersey. It was one of those towns everyone knew each other. We all went to school, together. My friend Mike Evanowski, who was the son of the chief of police and a varsity cross-country runner, high honor roll student, very credible witness, pulled up in his car and he's like, are you guys seeing this? I've been watching it since I left my house. And I was like, Mike, I don't know what these are, man. And we just stood there watching this. Mike sat in his car right next to us, parked on Bowline, and we watched it until they vanished. And then Mike was like, that was strange. He drove off. And I was
How long was the whole encounter, Tyler? Roughly.
Probably maybe like 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes. But it was long. It was there for a fair amount of time. That like even Mike saw it from his house. That was like maybe like a minute or two up the road, and he must have just left and saw it at the same time. It was a really interesting experience, and it freaked out John. And I hate to put him on the spot like this, but I'm just telling it how it happened. Usually our path that we run, and we kind of had like a set trail where we go. We just kind of just run in like this square pattern, because Beechwood's set up like a grid, like all the roads are just cross streets. And we normally run straight down towards the direction of where these orbs were flying, and John cut an immediate right and just went the opposite direction, and he led the run. And I think it really freaked him out. So that was my first experience. Now, this is where it really got interesting for me, because after a few weeks, that experience left my mind. Like, I really didn't put too much thought into it. I was like, that was definitely strange. Now, so lacrosse season's in the spring. I graduated high school. It was my senior year. And at that time, I was still actively DJing a lot. It was pretty much my full-time gig. I was going to different nightclubs and different studios and DJing, and I was just doing my thing. Now, I got booked to DJ a live stream event for this Facebook live stream called ATV Radio that just brought on local DJs. It was a late-night mix show. People are coming home from the club listening to it. And this was in Freehold, New Jersey, which is like out in the cut of the woods in the Pine Barrens. Now, I was there till about 2:00 in the morning. And no, this is like 6 months, maybe 5 months after this initial sighting happened, right?
Right.
And I leave Freehold, New Jersey. I'm driving back home by myself, Parkway South in New Jersey. If anyone's ever been to New Jersey, it's just pine trees, Parkway. That's it. It's like it's pretty isolated in some parts when you're going through New Jersey. And I noticed I was running out of gas. I was on E. I was broke. I just got out of high school, no job. I wasn't really making any money, and I decided like I need to go to my aunt's house because I'm not going to make it back to Tom's River where my parents are. Like I'm going to run out of gas. So I changed course and I was like, I'm going to go to my aunt's house instead, which is kind of taking me back the way I came. So I made that decision in my mind, and I'm sitting there driving, and like we've all been there where you're watching the needle and you're like, I really hope I don't run out of gas. Like I really don't want to run out of gas. So I was not concerned about anything else besides the fact I'm going to run out of gas. It's 3:00 in the morning. My phone's dead because I was using it for social media and selfie videos the whole night on Snapchat for this live stream. I didn't have a phone charger in my mom's minivan. And I started noticing out of the top right-hand corner of my windshield, this red light. But I didn't pay any attention to it because in the Pine Barrens, they have those really big radio towers with the really slow pulsating red light on it. So air traffic knows, not to hit them and where they are. So I didn't pay any attention to it. But then I noticed that slow pulsating red light, it went from being in the upper right-hand corner of my windshield to directly over the van. And then that made me stop because I looked up because I was like, that's a really low helicopter, or there's something clearly in the air above the car. And I don't know what made me pull over, about to run out of gas. And I'm really about to run out of gas, but I pull over, I'm on the side of the parkway, I get out, and it's the same phenomenon that I saw a few months before that. It was these 3 red orbs moving. They all disappeared. They all reappeared, came back together, and the same thing. And now I'm out there by myself, 3:00 in the morning, Parkway South, no cars, pitch black, Pine Barrens, phone's dead, running out of gas. And I was just standing there like this seems like a very intimate, personal experience. Like this is the second time I'm seeing this now. And then it just re-sparked the experience that I forgot about a few months prior. And I was like, now this is very fascinating. And I watched it again for about the same amount of time, maybe 3 minutes. And then they vanished. And then I actually somehow, by the grace of God, made it to my aunt's house. My aunt gave me $5 the next morning to fill up the car so I can kind of putter back to Tom's River where I'm from. And ever since that night, I just became completely obsessed with researching and looking into the phenomenon.
So would you say that kicked off your interest in the consciousness connection? I mean, it seems like you said that it was like a very personal experience for you. Mm-hmm. The second experience and relating it to the first experience, was that something that you felt did that kick off your interest in this concept?
No, I didn't approach it from that angle for a while. I looked at it as more of like just how do I put this? Just an open-minded inquiry, because I figured it was not human. Like I just felt call it intuition, call it your gut feeling. There's other ways that we can explain when you just have a sense of knowing something. And I had this feeling that whatever I just saw was not human in origin. I don't know how I know. I don't know how I knew that. And
have you ever had a similarly intense encounter with a CE5 experience, or have you ever seen them up close like that?
Yeah, and it was actually not that long ago. I went to Mount Shasta, I think back in April, May, June. I think it was May. I went to Mount Shasta. It was my fiance and her 2 friends. We rented an Airbnb up there for just the weekend. I think we were Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We came back Sunday. Really quick 3 days. And my fiance, if you guys have seen her page, she's really involved and deep into, the meditation space. They went up there to actually just do meditation circles together, just the 3 of them. They just wanted to go up there, go into nature and do meditation. And I was going just to document and see what would happen. I was kind of just tagging along to see, okay, I'll bring the camera and let's see what comes of this. And the first night we were there, they're doing this meditation inside, and I was like, okay, I'm going outside to sky watch. I need to see the sky because the sky at Mount Shasta is just spectacular. It's pitch black. We were at the base of the mountain in this like little cabin, and the sky was just beautiful. You can clearly see the Milky Way with the naked eye. It was magnificent to see that. So I'm outside and I'm setting up my camera equipment. I'm putting the Sony A7 on a tripod. And as soon as I turn the radio on, and I was kind of taken back by that because I've never had that kind of radio activity happen instantaneously. So my first instinct thinking about, okay, I'm in a mountain. There's probably minerals and different deposits in the ground. There's Wi-Fi here. I have my cell phone right next to it. Let me just get a baseline reading of what's making this radio go off like this. And it was only one of the radios. It wasn't both of them. Only one of the radios was acting like this. And both of them were the same model, UV 5R Pro ham radios. They were set to the same frequency, 144-100, but only one of them was chirping in this sporadic quantized sequence of chirps. And it was about 172 beats per minute because I was kind of just counting it off the top of my head. And I took the radio and I brought it over to the side of the house. I was running it up and down the house. I was bringing it close to the ground, and I went around the entire property with it. It would not stop. You know, I put my phone up to it. I made a phone call next to the radio to see if it made some kind of interference. I went in the house with it. It wouldn't stop the entire time. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it do its thing. So I just put it down on this lawn chair at the Airbnb, and I just lowered the volume of it because it was so rapid. It started to like not annoy me, but it was just nonstop, you know? So I lowered the volume. And as I'm picking up my night vision that I set up inside, I look over to the right, and this blew my fucking mind. Excuse my language, but I look over and there's a stationary glowing pink and velvet Tic Tac sitting there just above the trees. And I was kind of floored by this because I was like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing right now. And the second I realized and it registered like what I was looking at, it vanished as fast as a bullet out of a gun and went from being a pink violet Tic Tac to a pink and violet streak. And then as soon as it turned into a streak, above me in the same direction, there was what we call a flash bulb, but it was right above the house. Like a flash bulb right above the house. It looked like someone let off a silent firework somehow. And it just went like pink Tic Tac, streak, flash of light. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And the radio was still going off the entire time. Now, so now I'm scanning. I'm like, okay, there is some high activity happening. I mounted my phone to the night vision that I had. And within a few moments of me scanning, I noticed this orb of light, which is really common, you know, like as to the kind of phenomena we see when we go out on the expeditions. But this thing just started to descend rapidly. I mean, rapidly. It went from being like the size of a star to the size of like a marble to like the size of like a baseball in the sky above me. And it came in super low. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I have the original audio. I'll send it to you guys, but I'm screaming in this video, get the fuck outside. Look at this. It's above the house. And I'm freaking out. And I'm much more composed now. I try to be calm when I see them, but it was just this golden sphere of light just came down. It descended, came over the Airbnb, and then just went right back into the air. And I needed someone else to see this. I was like, no one's going to believe that I'm seeing this right now, even though I have night vision footage of it. So I called Tim Cash because I was close enough to the house that I had Wi-Fi. So I FaceTimed Tim. Luckily, he picks up. And the night vision still mounted to the phone. I was like, Tim, screen record this. Do something. Screen record it. And I flipped the camera because, you know, when you FaceTime it, it's facing you. And I flipped the camera. And Tim sees this. He sees some kind of orb that's like ascending back up into the air, and it leaves. And that was profound. And all of that happened within maybe 15 minutes at Mount Shasta. Wow.
So so your girlfriend was inside the house? Everyone else was inside, and you were outside.
Yeah, they were inside having a group meditation, and they were doing this kind of like a ceremony with different crystals, and they were making crystal grids. And I'm not too familiar with that kind of work that she does. I appreciate it, and I understand there's definitely energetics behind it, and there's an essence there. But I'm more about like, let me go out under the stars, let me get my camera out, let me actually see what I can record and show other people. So they completely just either they were zoned in so deeply to what they were doing, they didn't hear me screaming from outside, or they just ignored me. But I was screaming for them. I was like, "Get out here! There is a golden ball of light above the Airbnb. No one's gonna believe me." And that, yeah, like I said, that happened within like the first 15 minutes of me being outside at Shasta on the first night.
So, but that wasn't contacted. You weren't initiating that content. You were just like, all right, these guys are over here praying or doing what their thing with crystals. I'm going to go outside with the camera and just see what I can get. And then this craziness happens.
And you said it was a pink stationary velvet looking Tic Tac was the first thing you saw? Violet.
It was like a pink, white, violet, glowing Tic Tac, like the shape of like the famous Tic Tac, like what's right behind you.
And was it structurally defined, or was it kind of fuzzy or hazy? Like what was the definition?
It was defined.
Did you say you had
defined
night vision footage of it?
Yeah, it's on contacttour.net. Not of the pink Tic Tac, because that thing vanished before I got my night vision out, but of that orb that came in. And then I also took another camera and put it on the radio, and then I kind of overlapped the footage in the editing process, and I got them on sync with each other. So you guys can go watch that. It's up on the contacttour.net.
Yeah, rather see if you can find it and pull it up.
Yeah,
I'm able to take a look at.
I am curious about your theories about the radio, and
I'm going to be right back.
Are you thinking that, the radio's chirping because it's trying to communicate with you, or do you think it's kind of a side effect of them being in the area?
I think it's both. I don't want to rule anything out, and I don't have conclusive data to show like, hey, we took this, we decoded it, it's a message, right? We really don't have that yet, but I think that it's both things. So it's Mount Shasta night 1. That night right there, night 1. Here we go.
I came back just in time. Okay, so what are we looking at here, Tyler?
So this wasn't the golden orb that came in. You'll see the golden orb we're talking about closer towards the end of this video.
Pause it real quick, brother. So because I want to understand what's happening, right? So I hear I see the radio in the right corner, and I hear it go ka 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 ka, and then we're pointing at what seems to be an orb in the sky.
So before that golden orb descended and came in really low, I mentioned I was scanning the sky after I saw that pink Tic Tac and that flash. So in between me, like that pink Tic Tac flash golden orb in the sky, there was maybe about 5 minutes of me just scanning the sky and looking around to see what I could actually pick up on the night vision. And I also had my satellite tracker out. So I was trying to verify to see, is this Starlink? Is this Virgin Galactic? Like, what's up in the airspace right now? And whenever I would come across an object that wouldn't register on the satellite tracker, I began recording, and then I began engaging it with the laser pointer. And that radio feedback did not stop the entire time. I just kind of bring it in and out of the video just to show you guys that it's just continuous, because if I let that radio feedback play the whole video, it probably wouldn't be a good watching.
It's not fun to listen to. Yeah.
So
okay. You can turn it up rather if you want.
What is that? Is that your finger? What are we? Is that you pointing?
Laser pointer?
Yeah, I have a laser pointer just below.
Okay.
Now this is the golden orb that came down.
That's significantly bigger.
It was huge. And the reason the camera's so shaky because I was freaking out.
Have you ever been able to capture footage of them, like zipping away or doing anything that's, obviously physics defying?
Yeah, I have. I really wish I could screen share the last expedition we did to Sequoia, because that footage is incredible. But even if you guys leave this video and go down to the highlight reel that's right below it, and I even pointed out a satellite right there, because you can identify satellites, which ones are and which ones aren't. That one's clearly not a satellite. That thing was a huge golden ball in the sky. But if you guys go to the Contact Tour highlight reel, I took the best sightings that we've captured over the last 2 years, and then I just put it together in a quick minute-long video. And it's right there, I think, right below the Mount Shasta day one, or night one, excuse me.
We lost your screen share, rather.
No. I took it off just because he's looking for it, and then when he finds it, we'll pull it back up. Okay. Just real quick, you can, again, like, how do we have this conversation, right, without offending Tyler, right? But like sitting in my shoes, I'm looking at that and I'm going, it's weird. There's no, it definitely doesn't have any airline, warning lights to it. So I'm confident that you're not pointing a laser pointer at a plane or an airliner, because that's the first thing I think of. Was like, man, how do we know that's not a plane, right? But you said you took out the air traffic control app and just to make sure the skies are clear. So that sort of gives you the green light to do something like that. So I just want to let everybody in the audience know, we're not just pointing laser pointers at planes. No. That's not what's happening.
Be extremely cautious with laser pointers. And I always have people comment on our videos saying, stop pointing laser pointers at planes.
Right.
Okay. That's a $250,000 fine. And the objects in the sky that we're vectoring, they are clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, not aircraft. There's no wings. There's no LED collision indicators. There's no
but not exhaust. Besides that, if it was and you were posting it online, I feel like they might have found you by now.
I would have been locked up. I would have to be hitting up everyone for bail.
Right. Okay. Rather, we got the next video. Let's pop it up.
Yeah.
Wow. Hello. Oh, I got it.
Hey.
Wow. Oh my God, I'm focused in on it.
And pause this real quick. Pause this part. So that stationary pair of lights that you just saw in that night vision footage that just happened, that is the same object taken on a Sony a7 III. Now, if you go through and let that video play and you zoom into those two accompanying lights that are together, there is clearly a distinction of some kind of build on those lights. Click on that one frame. Go back, rather. Click on that frame. Get a little bit closer on the next frame. Next frame, one more. So explain to me what those lights are that clearly have a distinct bottom appendage with a red light and the teal tint on the upper right-hand side. And we tracked the entire stars the entire night we were out there, and those lights did not move. They were stationary for hours in the sky. And clearly when you go in and zoom in with the Sony a7 III, there is some kind of structure to them. I don't know if there's another frame that goes closer after this one. There might be one more. I think there is, rather. Yeah. Okay. Click on this one, please. What is that?
I'd be interested to hear what our resident photo expert, Aaron Desario, has to say about these. So I know that, images can be very deceptive, right? There's compression going on. There's a lot of things going on. So, something like this doesn't really convince me that it's anything other than a ball of light, but I'm definitely not an expert. Love to hear, some photography.
And did you see, let me ask you this, Tyler, the red at the bottom of this ball of light, when you saw it live, did you also see that live, or was that something you captured in the camera?
This object, I don't know if it's one singular object or these are two objects that are just together, but it was so far away that we weren't able to distinctly see the details that the photo showing. But a member of our team, Eddie Fry, who's been doing astrophotography for well over a decade, and he's internationally known for his work, and he's been featured in countless publications just for his work in astrophotography. He's pretty much our sniper at getting photos and images of these objects. And if you guys actually go in and watch the Knapp's Castle, it's called the Knapp's Castle recap because that's where this expedition took place. We have the Sony a7 III stationary on a tripod, not moving as we're tracking the constellations and the rotation. And Eddie focuses in on these two objects, and they're slowly, very subtly drifting over to the right out of frame. And we keep having to adjust the camera to keep them in frame. So whatever those objects were, they were not moving with the other constellations. They were not moving with the stars or the orbit of the planet. They were just stationary, slowly and subtly moving across the sky. And then when we zoomed in with a high-powered, I don't know the millimeter lens that Eddie used to capture this photo, but when we actually zoom in and get a picture of them, there's clearly some kind of structure to them.
Well, it is
You want to go ahead
odd.
and finish the video?
Well, before you, yeah. Well, I was gonna say it is odd that the light. I mean, and Aaron Desario commented. He said, "Here it is, right here. It might be a UFO. It might just be a drone. There's no real way to tell from anything like this." And I think that's fair. But for me, it is interesting how this. It seems like the light is coming from the bottom, and the aura of the light is on the top round side of it. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's really, really tough unless you were there like you were. It's for us, it's like, man, I want to believe this, obviously, right? Like, this is incredible. If the story is accurate and everything is true, which I don't think you're lying. It's just it's wild, right? Like,
I would definitely encourage people to go watch all the expeditions and just see. And that's the whole point of why we make these recaps, is because we want to give people like a POV action shot of as of though they're there with us as these events unfold. We do very minimal editing on the raw footage. We just pretty much piece everything together chronologically just to show how all these events unfold. And
it seems like we need a couple of Sonys with a couple of really killer zoom lenses on them, and we need different angles.
That was that was the other thing I was gonna
that was because here's the thing, right? Is like Mick West will go, yeah, okay, maybe, but do you have another angle of it? And then we'll say nope, and then he'll go, okay, well, I can't do anything with it, and like go for it. Sorry.
No, if you guys want to see an interesting one that I actually got on my Sony from my balcony a few nights ago, I don't know who's pulling up the website. I think it's you.
It's rather yeah.
If you go to the most recent video that's at the top of the Contact Initiative tab, that was filmed from my balcony on my Sony, I think at 5 o'clock in the morning. And there's some interesting movement on this object. And I think there's 48 videos there too. So, I mean, everyone in your free time, if you're even interested in it, you're more than welcome to go through and do your own assessment. And
yeah, we're going to have to go through it now at this point. You know, like
before we do that, though, why don't we do
we hit an hour. I totally forgot. We got Jane in the back waiting to join us. So let's do that. Let's reset the room real quick. Let's play our Patreon commercial while Rather's pulling this up. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry. Good call.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just going to say we've got 140 of you in the room, and we definitely do not have 140 likes on this video. If you want more people to join UCR, if you want new and interesting people in the chat, make sure you click that like button, subscribe, and click the bell if you want to get notified whenever we go live. Don't know who we have on Friday yet. That's coming. We've got Tom Rogan joining the Singularity Lab tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed and
what are we talking to Tom Rogan around, by the way?
Do you know who Tom Rogan is, by the way? He's a
sounds familiar. Why am I not remembering?
He's a writer from the Los Angeles Times. He's good friends with the Debrief. He's written for them as well, and he's been following the UAP topic for quite a while. He's also just a genius when it comes to relations in Southeast Asia and the Middle East, and it's gonna be a fascinating conversation.
Okay, cool.
But that being said, make sure if you want to support the show, you can do so by leaving a super chat like Lisa Bowden just did. Thank you so much, Lisa.
By the way, I'm looking at the pictures now. Lisa, we'll bring them up here in a second. Lisa, I guess, took some of these pictures here.
Oh, fantastic.
So as soon as we're done checking out Tyler's video, we'll pull these up.
Great. Or you can check out the Patreon and support on a monthly basis. We've got the extraordinary UFO Jane's going to be joining us. She is a Texas UFO researcher, a.k.a. UFO Jane, has documented over 1,000 UFO cases over the years and does interviews with UFO experts on her YouTube show, The Weird UFO Show. Jane, it's a pleasure to see you.
It's awesome to see you guys. I feel like it's Been years.
So long. I know.
Yeah, right. Real quick before we get started with Jane and Tyler, let's play this quick message from our sponsors. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
I love that so much.
I also love it. I also love it very much. It's quickly become one of my favorite things anywhere. Okay, so Jane, have you caught any part of this conversation at all before you came in?
I caught a bit of the end. I mean, it's hot. Lights in the sky. It's hard. I mean, that's like the number one thing people new to the topic say is they're like, well, if aliens are visiting, why aren't there like so many photos and videos? Because we all have these great iPhones and stuff, and that's not the reality that's not the reality of taking a photo or a video of UFOs.
Or what happens is someone like Tyler takes a whole bunch of videos and pictures of UFOs, and then idiots like us sit here and look at it and go, yeah, it's not good enough.
That's what I mean. I mean, that's the thing is there are lots of photos and videos of UFO. Like, so that's the number one crushing the myth is that there are lots and lots. There's more testimonies and photos and videos. I'll say that. Right. But it's always underwhelming. It's always underwhelming because that's just the nature of trying to capture a craft in the sky that you weren't expecting to see. And if it is what we're hoping or wondering it is ETs, it's all the more likely that like they could be cloaked, that they're trying to blend in with our craft. I think if we were sending, let's say, a Mars rover to a planet where we knew that there was potentially intelligent life, we might be a little bit sneakier, than we are right now.
I think you make a good point, though. It's things that you aren't expecting to see. It's hard to capture. It seems that if we are actually able to summon these things with CE5, that we should be able to get these high-powered telescopes and high-powered cameras and actually tell what they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're working towards. When we first started going out and doing expeditions, we started with an iPhone 8, and that's all we had. So I just felt the call, and I said, I have no camera equipment. I have no experience as a videographer. I don't know any of the star constellations, but damn it, I'm going to go out and try. And we're about almost 2 years into doing this, and just every expedition we go on, our means and our methods keep improving. We keep upgrading our equipment, and we're producing better evidence of the encounters that we're having. So we're just gonna keep on doing it. I think probably within the next year, and we're going to be building a really impressive camera rig that's similar to Rob Friedman. If anyone's ever seen Rob Friedman's work at all, he has this incredible rig of 10 different cameras, night vision, infrared, all pointing in different angles. And I think that's the caliber that we need to reach to really document high fidelity, high resolution video of these encounters that we're having. So it's just a process of refining and renewing and developing our means of doing this. So I just
go ahead, brother.
Well, I was going to say, if you do proceed within this for a couple year or two, and you get better telescopes and better equipment, and you're not able to definitively ID them, or you look at them and you see that they are things that are of prosaic explanation. I mean, are you open to that possibility of being proven wrong as you research?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not out here to be right. I'm out here to know. I want to discover what's actually going on here, because there is a phenomenon. It's been acknowledged by the Department of Defense and the national security apparatus, and it's been confirmed within the intelligence community and all the countless documents that are out there that there is unequivocally a phenomenon here that is displaying technology that could potentially be 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years more advanced than what we have now. Although it's definitely a possibility, and I'm a believer in this. You guys can disagree with me. That's totally fine. We're all entitled to our opinions, but there definitely are deep, covert, unacknowledged special access projects within the private sector of aerospace that has probably 0 point electromagnetic gravitic technology. So we also have to keep that in the back of our minds too, that there's going to be UFOs that are probably man-made, probably extraterrestrial. And how are we going to research and approach this topic to further our understanding and being able to distinguish the difference between them?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think any of the things that you filmed have been military, or do you think they've all been of non-human origin?
Well, I actually have an interesting experience. To my knowledge right now, I don't think anything we've seen has been man-made because it doesn't look man-made, or what I would imagine to be man-made. I feel as though anything that's going to come out of humanity as advanced alternative propulsion and flight systems is going to be mechanical and rigid and have seams, and it's going to look something out of like what you would imagine a stealth bomber or, you know, another variety of stealth aircraft to look like. What we've been seeing are just orbs of light. And we actually saw in Ventura, California, what appeared to be a transparent, multicolored tesseract that flew over us. It was some kind of circular object within a cube that just flew over us. So I don't know if mankind is capable of making an object that appears to be from potentially a higher dimensional plane of reality.
Is that your hypothesis? Is that what we're dealing with here is a conscious manifestation of something interdimensional that's attracted to this sort of mental, attraction?
Yeah.
I mean, what is your thought?
Well, I have a few different hypotheses that I don't subscribe to any one hypothesis. I like to keep an open mind to see, what actually this is going to become, and what kind of answers are we going to gain from researching the space. Because I think the moment you subscribe to something 100%, you close your mind to the other possibilities. So I'm trying to make sure that I keep my mind open to whatever the outcome is for all of this research. But to answer your question, I believe that the likely explanation of the phenomenon that has been documented for decades, potentially even hundreds or maybe even thousands of years, that date back to ancient civilizations and indigenous cultures having these encounters and depicting them in the means that they had at the time, is that we're dealing with highly advanced non-human intelligences that appear to have an omnipresent, omnipotent way of existing that will probably lead us into researching quantum physics and quantum mechanics and parallel concurrent dimensions of higher vibratory states. And I don't even think that is science fiction. I think that's science fact in regards to, we understand that there's a third dimension, and that we understand that matter doesn't emit energy, energy emits matter. So what are these higher states? What are these higher realms of being that matter is being emitted from? Why do we think that?
Can I ask Tyler? Sorry, can I ask? And I'm sorry to butt in.
No, you're good.
But why would you say necessarily omnipresent or some of these broad things? So what I would ask, and sorry I didn't catch the beginning, and I love that you're capturing this actively. It's awesome, by the way. This is exactly what we should all be doing.
It's all good.
But so are you doing kind of the CE5 stuff, consciousness stuff, right? So if you're coming at it from that angle that these are more advanced intelligent beings, why not presume that they could maybe not have your best interest in mind, especially when you look at documented cases of abductions that maybe aren't so positive? Why do you take because you seem pretty positive about it, or not afraid of it, at least.
I have no fear.
Yeah.
Well,
is it just a feeling you have, or that you have when you're having these encounters, or does that come from research where you just have an angle that it's been positive?
Well, we only have two options here, and I'll give you these options right now. And I appreciate your question, Jane. That's a really good question, because we cannot deny the reality that people have had traumatic experiences with what they report to be non-human beings, other entities that could in fact be extraterrestrial. But we also have to explore the field of cosmology and understanding that there are naturally occurring multidimensional terrestrial entities that can be misconstrued to be something that's from another planet. Like, for example, the cases that happen at Skinwalker Ranch. The phenomena that manifests at Skinwalker Ranch may not necessarily be categorically extraterrestrial. And the category of extraterrestrial, by definition, is a physical being that comes from a physical planet out there in the physical universe. We keep thinking in a very linear, materialistic way of trying to explain and organize our thoughts around this phenomenon. There's realms that have physical presences, celestial presences, and astral presences. And we have to begin exploring these different spaces. Now, what you mentioned, you know, could there be negative outcomes of CE5? Yeah, I've heard different stories of people engaging in CE5 and they didn't have a good experience. They had something that frightened them. But this is the situation, going back to the options that we have. We can either stay here and not be proactive about it and be bystanders and not empower ourselves and allow this phenomenon to continue manifesting the way it's manifesting and not engaging with it to further our understanding, or we can empower ourselves, become proactive, form a citizens diplomacy initiative, take action and go out there and go into the unknown and expand our understanding of what is not understood yet. And that's where my approach is. I think that standing back and trying to be on the sidelines in a state of fear and constriction and seeing all this stuff unfold and not doing anything about it, I think that's extremely dangerous, because if we don't take responsibility, someone else is going to take responsibility for us. And I'll be damned, being a military veteran and being a service member, if I allow the military or these hierarchical power structures of government to make that decision for us, that this is how we're going to approach this subject, this is how we're going to address and handle extraterrestrials, and this is how the future of humanity is going to unfold. So we have to take it amongst ourselves to come together as a species and say, we don't understand this, but we can.
I think it's important, Tyler, and I appreciate what you're saying here. I think one of the biggest challenges, and I'm guilty of this myself, is having a rudimentary understanding of quantum physics and then shaping that into my understanding of reality and assuming that I understand more than I do because, you know, I've studied string theory for 10 minutes, or, you know, I'm assuming, you know, we have extraordinarily talented and brilliant physicists out there working on these problems, and they're stumped so oftentimes. And I think a lot of times as laymen, we can jump on and decide that we know better. And so we kind of build a storyline around these things that we're believing based on what we understand. Now, that being said, I want to say that I don't think you're doing any harm, right? I think what you're doing is being proactive. And as long as you're doing it and doing no harm, and then trying to do your best to release the data and try to triangulate what you're experiencing, I think that's fantastic and fascinating. I think the challenge always comes in is when we decide that we know for a fact, and you've already said you don't know for a fact, and you choose not to assume you are 100% correct because you know that closes your mind and it doesn't give you an ability to think critically. And I think that's very balanced perspective. And so I appreciate you coming at it from that perspective. And I want to encourage people in the chat who are listening, you know, to listen to Tyler with an open mind while not letting your brains fall out.
Yeah, and me saying that they're extraterrestrial is my opinion based on the available evidence and materials that's very compelling and very persuasive, that we are being visited and being engaged by off-world civilizations. Now, the only way to really have an answer is to go out and get one. I'm not going to sit back and dude, I don't mean this by what I'm about to say. I don't mean this in any kind of negative way. I love what you guys are doing, like absolutely. But I'm not going to sit back and write to my political establishment that's been highly compromised and extremely infiltrated by covert counterintelligence operations that have had a death grip around this topic for the last 75 years. That's like me going up to the people that are holding the secret deliberately, knowing that they're holding the secret, me asking for the secret, and they're just like, absolutely the fuck not. You're going to get a trickled release, drip by drip, that's going to have a narrative associated with it, that's going to cater our agenda to further a militaristic control over our planet. Those aren't the people I want to approach. All of our political leaders, most of them, maybe 90% of them, and I'm pulling that statistic out of my ass because 80% of statistics are made up on the spot, right? So what I'm saying is that majority of our political leaders are not actually political leaders. They are in the back pockets, or vice versa, shoe on the other foot. They have the massive petroeconomic elites, globalist oligarchs in their back pockets that are making decisions and then putting it onto them and saying, you're going to turn this into policy, you're going to turn this into procedure, you're going to turn this into law for all of the geopolitical reasons X, Y, and Z. That's it. And the main reason why this has been kept in the dark for the last 75 years is because the implications would be profound for the entire global petronomic, I said petronomic, that's kind of an accurate term though, right? The petroeconomic system, because as soon as you have these technologies available, or at least the explanation has been presented to the public that we are being visited and they have technology that is thousands of years beyond us using fossil fuels or coal or natural gas, what's going to happen to our entire infrastructure when the value of the dollar is equivalent to the value of oil? What's going to happen? It's going to change everything. And that's the reason why I don't feel like going to our political leaders and going through those channels of government is as effective as me going out and finding out for myself from the civilian sector and creating a citizens diplomacy movement so we can go out and have firsthand experiential encounters and then find out our own truth. Because
we can walk and chew gum at the same time, though, Tyler. You can do both.
I think and that's what I want to say too. It's what you guys are doing is important because you're bringing attention to this to the people that may not want to go out and do an expedition. They may not want to go.
I'm down. I'm coming.
We're doing an expedition, but it's also. I feel like, look, I think what Michael's saying is right. Like, I think we should cover all the bases and try to do all, because I think the part with the generation before us is they were really great researchers, but they were piss poor communicators because all they do is infight and argue. Like, if this conversation happened 15 years ago, we'd both be pissed off at each other and we wouldn't talk to each other ever again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay that you go, hey, I don't agree with sending letters to senators because I think senators are in the back pockets of corporations and oil, which is a fair statement. That's totally fair. But it's also fair to say, like, look, in the Big Phone Home, we had a congressman on the show, and we also vicariously sort of talked through a congressman with Tommy Zito, and both of them seemed like kind of regular people, who really didn't have a clue as to what was going on, not only from the classified briefing, from the public briefing as well. Like, they just didn't, they don't have the time, because I said it on the show a million times, like 75%, and again, this is statistics, but 75% of a senator's time is raising money to get reelected for his or her next election. So that's totally fair. I think what sort of our strategy and perspective is we just want to get this discussion on a public level and take it seriously, so that way at the water cooler, at the soccer moms practice, at the Wendy's, in the drive-through, everybody's talking about, holy cow, did you hear about the congressional hearings? Did you hear about the pilots that came out? Did you see the videos or new footage that they released? Again, like, we live in this society where the rules have already been set. We're not changing anything. This monster is already rolling. And I'm just looking at this and going, okay, well, how could we work within this system to possibly get some more data? But I think you're right. Like, I think that it also needs to be coupled with citizen activism, citizen actually going out and gathering the data, creating their own scientific experiments, submitting them and talking to them with other people. I'm curious to know, have you guys ever reached out? And he's a firecracker, but I got a soft spot in my heart for Jeremy McGowan. Have you guys reached out to Jeremy McGowan, his Osiris project, and his awesome Land Rover with all of this measuring equipment? And he's a data guy. He's all about, like, I want data. I want to be able to collect it myself and put.
He has the Humvee. He has that Humvee.
At the Humvee.
I saw that.
I'm telling you right now, I think you guys might dig each other. It could be fun. It could be an interesting combination. But I'll warn you, he's he's a tough dude sometimes to deal with. I love him to death again. All love for my McGowan.
Well,
but
I dealt with drill sergeants for a long time, so
and that's why I think you guys would speak. Yeah, you guys would speak the same language. See, I'm not a military guy, and I would tell McGowan, I'm like, yeah, I don't believe it, and he'd be like, what? You know, and we would get in these arguments, but it's like, I think you guys would, because look, you've got the equipment as well. You're not out there to use just him and his equipment. Like, you guys can actually work together, because if you, let's say you're in Mount Shasta and you're at a base camp there, he could set up 2 or 3 miles away with another camera in his rig and film where you guys are. So that way, if you get another orb that comes in, and either A, you catch it, which would be ideal. You know, that would be kill, or not the orb, but the you know, the net, the tic tac that you saw, right? Like, if you had another guy sitting on top of a mountain filming down on your location, you might have caught it, you know. And then now you have 2 angles, and now we can go to Mick West and go, okay, debunk that, smart guy. You know, go use your trigonometry and your Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 expertise to debunk that, because we've got 2 angles now. You know, and I think that's and now I could take that and I could put that on a senator's desk and go, hey, look what we did without the military apparatus. So if we can get stuff this good, what has the military got that we should be able to pry out of them? Because again, we are taxpayers. At some level, we should be able to hold them accountable and take some stuff from them, no?
Yeah, I could only begin to imagine the high fidelity, high resolution imagery that the military has that they have yet to release. Like, I mean, I used to be a FLIR operator, because that's a pretty standard piece of optical equipment in the military. I was using one inside of a Bradley B-Fist mechanized vehicle. I got certified as a Bradley operator after a 6-week training after my AIT advanced individual training to be a joint fire support specialist. So those pick up very clear images of objects from very far away. So when I first saw that fuzzy FLIR, I was like, okay. I was like, I know for a fact you guys.
Is there any chance they made it fuzzy? Do you think they even edited it?
I can tell you this. It wouldn't shock me if whoever exported that video file went low resolution
360p.
You know,
that's what Lou Elizondo said early on, when I did pay attention to him very early on, and then of course for the big phone home, just not in between. But
every time you say that,
she's really proud of the fact that she hasn't listened to a word of Lou Elizondo from like 2017 till now, and she just wants to make that clear every show. I don't listen to Lou.
I know.
Oh my god, I love it. And then
but then I broke the record. So now
by interviewing him.
It's over. It's over.
By the way, that lady's interview, or the women's interview, was amazing of Lou Elizondo. It was so good. Like, again, like Michael and I were like, God, like, wish the guys would hold his feet to the fire like this. I actually want to put the panel back together and let you guys go for 2 hours again, because awesome. I think that would be awesome. But Tyler, what do you think about that? Or well, so look, Rather's got something to say. I can see it on his face. What do you got?
Well, maybe it's just a change in subject, but I've been reading your the contacttumor.net and your message statement, and there's a line in here that really stuck out to me. I was wondering if you would stand by it. It says that photographic materials which unequivocally solidify the notion that we've been observed by extraterrestrials. It kind of sounds like here that you're saying that you've unequivocally have photographic proof of this stuff, which kind of seems contradictory to what you've said this last hour or so. Could you kind of clarify?
Yeah, for sure. I would invite everyone to go into our archives. So we've been collecting a database for several years at this point and making it available to the public that shows different videos, photos, and a wide variety of other materials like documents and transcribed testimonials and video testimonials, that if you weigh the evidence together with all these different forms of material that you have, you can come to a rational, intellectualized conclusion that more than likely, and And I feel, my personal opinion is, we are being visited by extraterrestrials. So there is a piece of me that really does stand by that belief, just from the amount of materials I've seen, that it just makes the most sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to just do some critical thinking and see that. Look at all of the hundreds and actually thousands of videos. Look at all of the former government witness and federal private sector corporate testimonials that have come out. There are people speaking their truth. And look at all of the documents, the thousands of documents from the CIA, the NSA, and the Air Force that all share this information.
Look at Rather, he's bursting at the seams. He's like Robert Saleh sitting there. Oh, get me out of this box.
This is the Tyler Zahradnik show.
Well, it does say that there's videographic and photographic materials, not documents and testimony, that is unequivocally solidifying this notion. But it draws me to a larger point where, there is kind of the elephant in the room, that there has been groups that would promise people that they will make contact, and they've shown to be, throwing out flares and things like that.
I've heard of those groups.
So, how can we,
trust you? He wants to know how we can trust you.
And especially when you make, big claims like that on the website. I feel like there is a little bit of a disconnect between
come out with
that
us
and this.
That's all I can really say, is that ultimately, at the end of the day, the reason why we're pursuing this as hard as we have been is because we want people to have their own experiences. Because it doesn't matter what video I show you necessarily, it doesn't matter what photo I show you. I can sit here and share my experiences with you for hours, and then I can show you all of the adventures we've been on as a team. But the most important thing is people need to experience this for themselves. So, like, for example, Tim Cash and I, right? I'm sure you guys are familiar with Tim coming onto our team. So it got to the point that every morning for about 4 weeks straight, between 5 to 6 a.m., I was seeing these orbs in the sky and a bunch of different phenomena, streaks over the apartment, flash bulbs from super close range, 2 orbs coming together and separating. And it got to the point that I was seeing them so often, I said, I would bet if I brought my camera out with me and started recording them, I would still pick this up and I could just show it to people. So I did. I started going out with my night vision from my balcony every morning at 5 a.m., recording these all regimented procedures. I think the most important thing when you go out and do, and actually, rather, not to get off topic real quick, just to finish up that Tim Cash story, because it has to do with like the experience component of it. So I'll make it super condensed. Tim saw the videos. He was very skeptical about what I was posting up. He said, I need to come see this for myself because you're posting these videos on a daily basis. So I said, okay, if you feel comfortable with it, come to my balcony. I told him, I was like, all right, just come over to my house at 5 a.m. And I wasn't sure if he was going to do it, but then the next message was like, okay, bet. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, when do you want to come over to the balcony? He's like, I'll be there tomorrow. So I was like, okay, I guess Tim Cash is going to be at my house at like 4:30 tomorrow morning. And yeah, he showed up. He's the man of his word. And he was at my house at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't even get dressed yet. I still had on my PJs. And I was like, okay. I was like, let's go out to the balcony. And I just turned on the radios. I gave him a laser pointer, grabbed the night vision, and we went out. And Tim was very skeptical. He's a very rational person. He is the first person to call bullshit on everything. That's his personality type, He's been interviewing people of importance and celebrities for 2 decades at this point. So he has a very strong demeanor about, making sure the things he stands behind and the things he advocates for has validity and truth to them, and there's a reality to it. So I take him up to my balcony at 5 a.m. and we start seeing these small little orbs streaking across the sky and, doing their thing. And Tim's like, no, satellites. Like, he was kind of standing in that. He's like, these are satellites. But then we had one of these objects come in really slow. It kind of does an S formation and stops midair, just stops. And I kind of grabbed Tim because I was like, whoa. I was like, yo, did you see that? We're both watching this. It stopped. And it went from being a speck in the sky to just this massive bright light, nearly as bright as the moon. And then it retracted back into nothing and then swiveled off. And from that moment on, Tim was like, all right, I'm sold. What are we going to do about this? And him and I went and we grabbed breakfast. And I think maybe 2 weeks later, we were out at Joshua Tree to do an expedition. So my whole point behind that story is we're really doing this to show people, like, just go out and just have an experience and let that be your truth, whatever that turns out to be. You know,
is it that simple? Just go out and look at the sky, or you know, you say this is kind of like a repeatable phenomenon that you can kind of reproduce it. And is it just as simple as going outside and looking at the sky? Because I've done that. I haven't.
It could be. I mean, it could be. It could be that simple. I mean, there's different groups of people doing what we'll call. I don't even necessarily subscribe to that term CE5. There's just a whole community based around it. So to communicate the ideas, that's why I use CE5. But I think a more accurate acronym for it should be CHI, in which Lou Elizondo refers to as cognitive human interfacing, where pretty much you can use your consciousness to interact with the matter and the space around you, right? So you have groups of people like the LA UFO meetup, for example, with Hans Dass, where he goes out there with 30 people and their protocol is everyone stare at the same place in the sky. That don't blink. Everyone stare at the same place in the sky. And every time they go out and do this, Hans has his Sony hooked up to this extremely powerful telescope, and they document these very interesting looking
I'll tell you, my problem with something like that is that, you know, when you go to a group like that, there's a lot of people involved, right? And even if the organizers are totally legit and totally believe it, there might be, you know, someone in the production crew who does have a drone or is lighting off Chinese lanterns that no one even knows about. So, you know, I would love to, you know, get a set of instructions and be able to reproduce this myself in kind of isolation without anyone even knowing that it's happened.
We'll do it. I definitely say start developing a practice. Now, if you want a more regimented protocol, it's called CTS. It's coherent thought sequencing. And it's a form of meditation where you drop in to quiet your mind and you begin focusing on your breathing. And the more you focus on your breathing, you'll notice that the chatter in your mind will begin to dissipate and you'll start to fall into a place of silence. And once you notice your mind falls into that place of silence, that's when you set an intention, and it could be a simple sentence that you say in your head, and you focus on that sentence and keep repeating it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it. And if the studies, for example, that came out of Princeton's Engineering Anomalies Research Lab is correct, and that it shows that our mind on the quantum level can affect the universe, that means somewhere those thoughts that you're focusing in on after you clear your mind are going to be sent out into the quantum space of entanglement, and there could be some kind of intelligence out there that could respond. So you go.
Have you? Sorry,
Yeah,
have
ahead,
you?
Jane.
I didn't realize you were still going through the process. Sorry, but just have you considered that? I know I've heard this theory, not mass hallucination, but like mass manifestation, right? Of like a group of people expecting to see something. Have you, like, instead of it being an advanced alien visiting, could there be some other even almost spookier phenomenon going on?
I'm happy you brought that up because, well, I think these conversations are fun. But I had this this thought the other day that kind of like it was one of those thoughts that made me take a step back, and I was like, oh shit, maybe that's what it is. So I think that there is this infinite quantum field of infinite potentiality where, like, the analogy I made was is anyone in here a Harry Potter fan by any chance?
Yeah, I think everybody in here would probably be Harry Potter fan.
So
I'm looking at Michael's face. This doesn't look like a Harry Potter face.
No, so
got a muzzle over there.
This is super random, and the only reason I thought about this is because my fiance and I a few weeks ago we just finished watching like from first movie to last movie just because she wanted to. So
you dorks.
It came into my mind. There was this cabinet in the movie where they were teaching the students to do a spell to get rid of this formless ball of smoke that turns into like their fear. Do you guys remember seeing that? They open the cabinet, the smoke turns into whatever it is that they fear. I looked at that and I was like, that's probably accurate to the sense of how things manifest in the quantum. It's always there, and it's just this infinite smoke of potential. And the second there's a consciousness that can engage with it and bring focused attention to it, then it takes form. It's like the double split experiment, how the atoms, the photons are being shot through this piece of material with the two slits in it. And when the person isn't sending their focused awareness towards it, they're just staggered on the other side. And as soon as there's a focused awareness on it, they go through the slit.
That's an interpretation that's not entirely accurate. That's not exactly how that works.
Well, I think that the main general point of that example is that there has to be a clear mind-matter interaction. that consciousness does in fact have an influence on the physical world. So that was just an example I thought of randomly when we were watching Harry Potter. I was like, maybe
Listen, bro, I want to believe that. Like, I have read so many new age spiritual books that will make your head spin, and that's what they all preach, is that you can manifest your reality. It's all about intention, and it's all about your creation, and you are responsible for everything that happens to you in your life. I get it. I get the idea, and I get grabbing quantum physics and just like smashing the two together, but that's not like, I don't think that's scientific, dude.
Well, if we're talking about examples of scientific experiments that show consciousness being a tangible force that does bend space and time and mind-matter interaction, I became extremely close friends.
What scientific experiments have proven that to you? Because the double slit experiment does not prove that.
Well, for example, what I was just mentioning is I connected with Adam Curry at his lab over in Irvine because I wanted to explore the concepts and the projects he was working on at Pear and what he was doing over at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And I've sat down with him for the last couple of years, and he's just been sharing with me the results of these experiments just in casual conversation. And the most interesting one to me, as an example of consciousness having an effect in the physical world, or at least interfacing with machinery that has non-binary random outcome generators in it, that random number generator. They put a plant in an isolated room by itself with a light that had the same algorithm or the same software as the random number generator. And before they introduced the plant into the room, the light was just sporadically going in every direction, left, right, up, down, left, right. It had no quantifiable pattern. It was completely random, coin flip, 50-50 chance. As soon as they introduced a plant into the middle of the room, all of a sudden the light became more coherent, and it started pointing more often than not towards the plant. And instantly you saw a change in the data from these random sporadic movements of the light to a more cadenced harmonic movement with that.
Has this experiment been reproduced? I'm curious. I mean, I don't expect you to know all the answers, but I would love to get that information.
Yeah, I don't know if it was reproduced outside of Princeton. I never asked that, actually. That's a really good fucking question.
I know Dr. Travis Taylor, Skinwalker Ranch, at least shared in a panel, or I think he helped participated in one of those kind of random number generator, like consciousness experiments. But yeah, there was a college that did one, but I don't know the details, and I would butcher it.
Well, that's a really good question, Michael. I want to see other universities and other institutions of academia like reproduce that kind of experiment, because if that's
fascinating,
true,
and if you get the result once, it's worth doing again in different labs. I mean, because that's I mean, this is the game changer to prove what you're talking about. But if it's not able to be scientifically reproduced, then it's not. It's just not.
Have you guys seen those? I don't remember. They're just adorable. I don't know what age they are now, but I've seen videos and news reports of these little conjoined girl twins, and their brain stems are connected. So you can cover one girl's eyes and put something in front of the other girl's eyes, and she'll see it. Right. So they have this shared mind's eyes, shared mind's eye. Right. And they have these kind of free flowing thoughts right between this brain. So I mean, I think there's so much. I have ideas about we're all just these antennas, and there's kind of this mass consciousness, and we're kind of picking up on it. And we can go nuts with that. I think there's definitely something to that. And I'm sure there's a lot of random little studies and like things like that. But I do wonder about that when we talk about seeing orbs that aren't like these clear, intelligent craft, and they just kind of materialize. We talk about CE5 and things. I think it's worth exploring, but I also think like if you're going to be capturing these things regularly, boots on the ground, interpreting it, and I think which is wonderful, is wow, you could be seeing that phenomenon, you could be seeing aliens, you could be seeing military, you could be seeing negative aliens, positive aliens. Like it's such a huge bucket of possibility, and we have such limited science on it that I think it's just like, how can we have really any I don't know. I would just say I don't have much of a gut instinct these days, like about what's going on here. You know,
real quick, Earth versus Uranus. Sorry, Mr. Super Chat. We will absolutely call out $2 super chat. So I'm very sorry. We must have.
We put it on screen. We didn't say anything because Tyler was talking.
Right. Well, shout out to Earth versus Uranus. You rule. Thank you.
Princeton. It was a Princeton study, a Princeton new number study. So, sorry, somebody put that in the chat.
Yeah, I would love to get a link to that. That would be fantastic. And then I had a quick question for Tyler. I have no problem with people being able to make a living and support themselves doing what they do. So if you do this full time and you make a living doing it, like, more power to you. I'm just curious, are you charging people for contact tours? Like, what's your business model?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I've been just doing all this out of my own pocket for years. It's not anything that I've ever charged anyone for. I was just curious because it's called contact tours, so I was assuming that you charge for tours. The reason why the name is contact tours because it started out as the EDM concert series that I was throwing. And you can find that online. I mean, it's a funny origin story because I was getting booked under my own artist alias to do tours all throughout Asia. And I wanted to find a way to bridge my interest in this subject with my music career, and then use my audience through my music, which reached like a couple million people, to start getting this information onto a younger demographic. So I figured, like, what's the best way to show this information to young kids that want to go party? I mean, show it to them during a show, I guess. So it was just an idea.
That'll be sick with some EDM and just like start calling in the aliens, dude.
Rather, you can look this up if you go on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and type in Square Wave Contact Tour, it's really like poorly produced because we did this on a shoestring budget. But the idea was there, and that's where it came from. We just wanted to create events that people could attend that was electronic dance music, and the whole theme and the aesthetic was disclosure, and that's really where it came from.
All right. Well, I think Aaron's in. I think Luis is in. I think Rather's in. UFO Jane, if you want to join us too, I think we're gonna make a trip out to see Tyler. God damn it!
Yeah,
boots on the ground, bitches.
Well, I mean, I'm the closest one to him. I mean,
I'm in Texas.
You know,
so I could do my own thing here. I could do my own thing here, and then we could like compare.
Well, here's the thing, right? Let's say I went out with Tyler, okay, and I saw exactly what he saw, and then I came back on the show and I said, Michael, there's something to this.
That's why I said we all have
there's
to go.
Something to, right?
Oh shit! Who is that? Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah. Look at him hit that buttons, dude.
Look at the buttons, dude.
I love it.
You guys unlocked a new level, man. You guys know deep.
Wow. Yes, Tyler. I love it.
So, okay, go on with your thought experiment.
What I was saying is, if I come back on the show and I bring Tyler because I'm super excited, and I say, Michael, there's something to this, man. We saw something. They weren't planes. We pointed laser pointers at them, and nobody find us. You know, nobody fucking came and find us. You know, because he's right. That's a serious offense.
Well,
if he was going out every weekend to Joshua Tree or Mount Shasta and pointing these goddamn laser pointers at planes, he would not be here talking to us. That's for sure.
There's three layers to it, right? There's layer A. If you do that and you come back, I'll be like, that's a cool experience or story. I'll be like, that's cool. Like, I'm interested. I'm even more interested now, right? But it doesn't give me anything. So the second thing is just to go out there and produce content, create a really cool on the ground UCR video of us going with Tyler, and it'll be a blast. And we should do that. And then there's C, a real effing scientific experiment that ensures we are in a neutral location that Tyler doesn't have, hasn't tracked before. We have, we ditch his production people. We ensure that we've got, three different cameras to triangulate the, that would be so you got three options there, boys. I give you three options.
I like the idea of we all meet and then we'll put like 10 locations in a hat, and then we'll have Rather pick out the location, and then boom, we leave. We
Okay,
go to that
look, Aaron
location.
just said he's bankrolling we're doing this.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But yeah,
All right.
We're doing this.
But just I want to answer your question, Michael. Like, do we charge for these things? No.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't feel morally right in trying to monetize an experience everyone has the birthright to have. I don't think there should be a gateway. There shouldn't be a barrier of entry that has to do with money for you going out and having this experience. Now you're talking about a business model for Contact Tour. I mean, really what we're looking at right now in the terms of creating an organization that's self-sustaining and actually having a revenue stream is, well, we're going to really start putting out music as a record label so we can start monetizing streams and giving people music and giving them different forms of content like live sets. We want to start throwing shows again now that the COVID-19 regulations are starting to subside. We had 10 dates scheduled throughout Asia for Contact Tour: Thailand, Taiwan, India, Myanmar, Indonesia.
You know what I got to get with you on, Tyler?
What's up?
I want to do a live version of this show that tours the country.
Oh, great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
You know, like sit there. Maybe you could help us produce it, because that would be cool too. Because I'd like to pick your brain on that.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, and
real quick, I just like to make
yeah.
UFO Blueprint think we ignore him because he's asked this question like 40 times and it's just
And
fun
we
for me.
must have missed it.
I saw
this
it
is
each
UFO
time. I just
Blueprint.
ignored it.
I thought it was UFOs versus Uranus. Sorry.
This isn't my,
Guys,
this is not my
I
house.
was-
This is
I
not my
was
balcony.
I was just digging, and I knew I had something. I have a lot of different cool stuff, but this is just one example. This is a Princeton University precognitive remote perception engineering anomalies research laboratory. Anyways, they were just kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like studying consciousness and like effects, and it's huge, like abstract. But I think I have one from Stanford University too that's kind of like similar, but just thought we'd do some show and tell. Show and tell.
Nice.
while we talk.
What were you gonna finish saying there, Tyler?
Well, I think that I obviously do not feel comfortable with charging people to go out and do a CE5 experience, but me coming from having a background in the music industry, I'm fully comfortable with charging people to attend an orchestrated music event to see high price A-list talent in a whole production, and then making a bonus feature of that music event CE5.
That's so fun.
So like what I'm trying to do right now is within the next 2 years, I want to have a headlining show with Coldplay, Bon Iver, Aurora, and other A-list acts, and then allow people to pay and attend this show. And then an after hours for the show will be Cosmic Contact. So we're not charging you to come out and do CE5. You're getting an entire music festival that's going to be a pretty affordable price. And then by joining the music festival, afterwards you get to come out and do CE5. I think that's fair.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun as hell, man.
I'm there.
I think, and you know what, it relieves me to hear, and I'm sure Rather and Michael as well, because they are the really analytical thinkers on the show. They don't want to believe anything until it's in their face, and they can touch it, taste it, maybe even lick it.
Face in your face.
In your face. There's Princeton in your face, Michael. But like, yeah, dude. I mean, look, you're not charging for it, so that definitely gives me a sense of comfort. I think it's but how do you? Because like Mark Sims, right? He believes it. Like there's I don't think there's any walking him off that position. How do we meld these two things? How do we talk about these things where when we present them to people, they don't just immediately blow us off? How is it possible?
I think the points like Michael's been making throughout like the few conversations we had, like where's the data? Where's the evidence? Where's the quantifiable proof? Like, how do I show this to a scientist who's entirely skeptical about the subject and be like, well, here it is.
Right, because Lou's like litmus test is, can I put it on the on Congress, and mine would be like, can I take it to Avi, and he'll think it's worth looking into. Yeah,
and no, we have the same. All of us right here, we have the same perception of this. Like, we have the same idea. That's why I'm going out and doing this, because I was like, you guys are totally right. We need to have tangible proof. We need to go out there and collect as much as possible and make an initiative to do so. So, at the very least, I just invite people to go out under the stars and just start connecting with the sky above you, and maybe drop into a meditation every so often and explore that inner space, because there's probably just as much within us as there is outside of us, and to just keep an open mind to infinite possibilities. Because
my mind's open, bro. I'm down. I'm down.
And then it.
Yep. Thank you, Alex Melias, for the $5 dono. And then also, Aaron, we don't have to go.
Wait, we gotta read what it says.
Oh, sorry. Watch out for Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger, if you don't know, is the effect when people who know a little bit about a subject think they know way more about it than they actually know. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. So he's saying when conscientiousness and the quantum are brought up, it's by those who don't know the science, like Mike said. I'm terrible with the science. I bring up quantum stuff way too much for my own good.
Also, the Dunning effect goes the other way for people that are very knowledgeable on a subject, underestimating themselves. It's like a double-edged sword.
Ooh, the imposter syndrome. The other thing, Aaron's like he wants to do this thing, but he doesn't want to do a concert. We don't have to do a concert, Aaron. We can
No one's asking you to do a concert, Aaron.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure he could supply the marijuana for an entire concert.
Oh, absolutely.
No, and that's the main point about the concerts we're gonna have.
It's the marijuana.
We're gonna sell drugs.
They're gonna be completely sober events. They're gonna be completely sober events.
I was gonna say we're gonna sell drugs at these concerts.
Here's Earth versus Uranus is a super chat from before. I think Mike or Lou, if you want to read this one.
The unidentified celebrity review. You guys have a great show and should consider doing an interview with Dr. Oliver Klausoff. Okay. I've not heard of Dr. Oliver Klausoff. Have you, Tyler?
I think it's pronounced Oliver Klausoff.
Klausoff. Oh! Oh! Burn! Sick! Burn!
I was doing a Google search.
Rather was the first one to get that.
I had to look that up on Urban Dictionary, actually. I tried to Google the doctor.
Did you
no
have
wonder
Urban
he was
Dictionary
so
open this whole
pissed.
time?
No wonder he was so pissed that we didn't read the super chat, because he just wanted to get that goddamn joke in. You got us. That was great. Oliver Klausoff. That was awesome.
You got another super chat there, Lou.
Is there a Discord group or some kind? Yes, there's a Discord group.
No. I think for Contact Tour.
Oh, for Contact Tour. Okay, all right. I feel like this. I thought that was for our show.
Rather, do me a favor and create a channel in Discord, in our Discord. Y'all can click the link below. Go to our Discord, and in there, Rather's going to put in a channel called the Contact Tour, and that's where we'll all gather and talk and start planning our trip.
Unless, of course, Tyler already has a Contact Tour Discord. Which, if you do, please tell us about it.
No, we're actually in the process of doing a major rebranding and a reconstruction of our database and our website that I want to have done by the end of this year. But one of the things we're going to work on is like a community chat forum. We tried Telegram, but Telegram got really disorganized really fast. I think in the first week, we had like 300 people come in, and then it was just unmanageable.
Out of control. Yeah.
Completely out of control. So yeah, definitely Discord is in the works for the future, and we'll let you guys know as soon as it's ready. And it's just going to be an open space to have these kind of conversations. And
we'll create one in our Discord. Like Michael said, we'll invite you, Aaron, and Rather in there, and we could and Jane will talk about putting this trip together, man. Because I think I would love to do it. And if it's something where I could bring my girlfriend too, where she can come and not have to climb anything, I think would be the sort of the prerequisite for her. But I think we can make it happen. Real quick, $20 donation from Mike Tarabalka. Last week, when Squidding dropped the F-bomb about a 250-mile-per-hour Falcon being more terrifying than a UFO, I laughed so hard. I also knew with the down-to-earth chemistry of you all, I would be a fan for life. Thank you. I truly
imagine
appreciate
if you could
that,
summon
Mike.
those Falcons on command with conscious thought?
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would.
That would be a power.
I mean,
UFOs. I want to control Falcons.
All of a sudden, that fear instinct would be validated.
If I go out, we're doing CE5, and I just get bombarded by like 20 Falcons at the same time, I'll let you guys know.
Please,
I'll let you know.
I don't know if you'll survive.
These are Case for Infinity just brought up 3 of my favorite things in life. So, Case for Infinity, I'm with you. That you are coming. You're coming with.
Please do. And real quick, I wanted to show this. This was, I'm wondering if anybody, especially Tyler, if you've seen eyes on anything similar to this. This is sent to us from Lisa B on Twitter. She's a fan of the show. She doesn't have an explanation as to what these are. Let me see if I can zoom in on it a little bit.
I see these all the time.
They almost look like donuts. Yeah, Jane, what are your thoughts on it?
There is, I don't know what, there is an effect that can happen when you do take a picture of lights, and it can create kind of a fake halo effect that's a bit tricky to the eye. That said, that's not at all what I'm saying about this photo.
Right.
And I think it's like the orb phenomenon that Tyler's talking about. I get pictures and videos of lights just like that all the time that hover and then move around slowly, or just hover and disappear. Usually people think they're stars at first, but then they're not. They move.
Can I see that photo one more time?
Yeah, but I found this though. I was like, I gotta stick with that, right? Let me. I guess
you could say things are starting to get pretty serious. I guess. You know?
What did she say? What did she say about the photo? Like what did she?
There was. She just said I messaged you on Twitter. She didn't give me any details of the photos or gosh darn it, my internet's just running slow. There she is. Let me see find the photo again. There it is. And then this was the second photo she posted, where it's got sort of the same kind of donut thing where it's hollow in the middle. Looks like a halo.
That is an optical effect that happens when things are out of focus. Because because that can happen. I've seen that a lot, especially when I was trying to record things that came overhead super fast. I would get footage of it and it would look like that until I brought the camera into focus, and then it would fine tune it into a more defined outline. But I mean, without context, it's kind of hard to tell. I want to know what kind of camera it was shot on. I want to know all the details.
Right. All right. Well, Lisa B, definitely send me some details on that. Maybe we could talk about it a little more next time Jane's here, because this is her wheelhouse. That's what Jane does really well. All right, you guys, we've hit the end of the road here. It has been a fascinating conversation. I did want to get Michael, because Michael is always the hardest one to convince on this panel.
What about Rather?
Well, Rather's pretty tough too, but you're more blunt about it.
Are you saying am I gullible then? Is that
no. See, all right, guys, let's quit parsing words. All right, let's quit doing 2021 to Lou right now. What I'm saying is like when we watch Skinwalker Ranch, Michael's like, bullshit. So I'm curious, based off of the conversation we've had, right, and the past conversations we've had, the thing I like about Tyler is that he's so damn articulate. And his training in the military, just adds a lot of good feelings in my fuzzies down below. Like, I just feel like he doesn't come off as a guy who's trying to bullshit you. You know, he's not trying to charge you for all these things and do. So I'm just curious, like, what are your initial sort of thoughts after hearing everything we've heard today?
Well, again, like I have to go back to kind of, my rationality versus my interest in I'm very much skeptic, but I'm also very open-minded, and I've been reading about this stuff my whole life. Like, it's not something that's new to me. I've found myself I find myself questioning blind belief and it's dangerous. I've seen too many people get sucked into cult-like behavior.
Do you think Tyler has a blind belief though, based off of what he said?
He absolutely believes what he believes.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, do you believe?
Okay. Yeah, I believe.
Okay,
it's okay. It's totally fine.
That's okay. That's fine. I mean,
I'm not saying I don't like Tyler. I like Tyler.
Yeah. No. This is not about liking anybody. This is just about. Hey, can we have these uncomfortable where I can say, hey, it's not enough for me, and Tyler can go, I get it, just come out with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm down for that. Like I said, I'm an open-minded skeptic. So that's
what do you got, Rather?
Yeah, doubt for a second that, Tyler, you're telling the truth, and I don't think that you're trying to bullshit at us at all. But yeah, seeing is believing in something like this. So
but that's the problem with this whole manifesting concept. It's not believing is seeing, and that's where we get into trouble.
Here's also the thing too. Let's say all of us went out on this trip, all of us saw something, all of us filmed something, and then we come back on the show. Who's going to believe us? You know,
Nobody.
like I don't think anybody will believe us. You know what I mean? And that's what's hard about it. But it's like, how do you get people to
but that's the thing. We have three options. We have three options. You go hang out with Tyler and you come back and you say something, or we go do a ground expedition and we all go watch, or we do a serious scientific experiment. We can do whatever we want.
We can bring Avi Loeb with us.
We can bring Avi Loeb with us. I got Avi on the cell, dude. I'll call him.
We're currently in contact with an undergraduate from UC Irvine who's getting his PhD in physics, and we want to bring Adam Curry out as well and have them be, I guess, third-party witnesses or even participate in the process, because I just want to get more people from the scientific community involved.
Right.
And you know, at the end of the day, it's really hard to distinguish what is real, what is CGI, what's hoax. How do you distinguish between the two? So I guess the whole mission behind why we're doing this is because I just want to inspire people to take action and go out and have an experience. And you know, I can sit here and talk to you guys for another 6 hours, but it doesn't matter how many videos I show you. It doesn't matter X, Y, Z. We just need to go out and just do it. And just see what happens.
We've got a Discord channel now. We're gonna plan it. It's on.
It's on. It's gonna happen. We're gonna make this happen. Tyler, thank you so damn much for coming in, sort of, and being in the hot seat a little bit and answering some cool, really fun questions. I knew this was gonna be a great conversation, man. And I think you and James Iandoli are my two favorite people to talk about this, because you're not giving people answers. You're not giving people, you're giving them suggestions on how to do it. You definitely have your belief in it, but it's not a religion. It's not, I don't think it's the beginning of a cult. That's not what I'm getting here.
You know, Jay Malibu in there too.
Oh, Jay Malibu would be good. Yeah.
He's also very much on the consciousness connection with UFOs path.
Right.
Yeah. And,
all right.
Well, I guess just to make a quick last point, you know, everyone is welcome to have their beliefs. Everyone is welcome to have their own interpretation of things. Everyone is welcome to have their opinions. And the most important way to move this conversation forward is to just have discussions like what we just had. And I actually think that having alternative viewpoints is more constructive than everyone just agreeing with each other all the time.
That's why I love this guy. This is why I love this guy, because he doesn't like echo chambers, and I dig that, man.
No, I don't. I do not like echo chambers.
Next time you're on here, we have to have a discussion about Sheehan. We didn't even get into Danny, because Danny's making some wild claims.
And the thing is,
they're tough. They're tough.
Danny is okay, because I've had a lot of conversations with this man. I mean, I've been working with him for not too long, but long enough to really pick his brain about things. And he is extremely well read. I mean, the stuff that he shares and the experiences he's had, even outside of ufology, just Watergate, Karen Silkwood, Iran-Contra. It's just unbelievable.
Dude, seriously.
So when he talks about this subject, there is not a drop of bullshit, for lack of a better word. It's just like you feel.
Michael would disagree.
Sheehan's a lawyer, not a scientist, right?
You feel his it's like, for me personally, I just like taking into account people's resume, so to speak. Like he's proven himself for 50 years consecutively that he's looking after the best interest of human rights and civil rights, and he's been an activist in all these different fields. So
don't disagree with that.
I think that I mean, no, we can have our disagreements. That's totally fine.
I just wanted to double down on your point, dude. That guy, like Pentagon Papers, like when the United States government was lying to the American people, who was there to save the day? Danny fucking Sheehan. That's who.
With 47 volumes. 47 volumes of top secret classified covert operations happening in Vietnam. And he brought, it's just
incredible.
It's just incredible. So like
Right.
when someone with that kind of experience comes forward and shares the things that he's sharing, even if they sound completely like,
You have to at least listen.
you got to at least listen to the guy and be like, okay, you're
Yeah.
probably not leading me down disinformation. You're probably coming from a genuine place of truth. So
Doesn't
like
necessarily mean what he's saying is accurate. He's being honest on what he saw and what he's read, but that doesn't necessarily mean what he saw and read isn't disinformation or bad info. Yeah.
I mean, and that could happen to anybody in the space.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot
Right.
of deliberate disinformation to mislead people, to confuse
Right.
people.
Complicated subject.
So I mean, I'm just happy. I'm just happy that finally, for the first time, as of recent, in all of my years of looking into this, there seems to be like collaboration happening, where people aren't trying to solve these problems with their backs to each other. We're facing each other and having a conversation and a dialogue.
Right. Like I said, I think
that's so important.
I think this new wave that I like to consider myself of people coming into the field are willing to have that conversation. We're willing to put our egos aside and be like, okay, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I totally have this wrong.
If it turns out that there was like some guy 3 blocks away with me watching me on binoculars for the last year, just fucking with me with a drone, I want to find that out because I want to know. I want to know. So
good man.
All right,
that's it, man.
We'll leave you before you go. I gotta say, we should get you and Tim Cash in here on a discussion. That would be a lot of fun. And yeah, dude, floor is yours. Please tell everyone where they can find Tyler Zahradnik and everything that he's working on.
So you guys can go to Contact Tour on every social media, except I think Twitter, since someone got Contact Tour before we got it. There's a 1 at the end of it, so it's Contact Tour 1. But just YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Contact Tour, and you can go to contacttour.net, and we're just gonna continue going out on these expeditions and documenting all the interesting phenomenon that manifests, and we're just gonna share it with the world, and you guys make your own conclusions about it. I just hope it inspires somebody out there to, explore these questions. That's really all I want.
Right on, brother. Well, dude, I really, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for coming by. It was fun. It was fun.
Tyler.
Thank you,
Tyler.
Rather. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Lou. I love what you guys are doing. It's important, and I do those intro videos have me cracking.
We'll stick around till the end. We play them at the end too.
They're great.
All right, brother, man. Thank you again. And yeah, I'll be seeing you very soon. Very soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, dude. Peace.
See ya.
Thanks, Tyler.
Man, that was fun, you guys.
Dude, this thread in Discord is already fire. Like it's about to be off the chain.
I'll never visit the Discord. Tell me what's going on. And last thing I need is another Discord, but I'll listen to you guys talk about it. All right, you guys. Wow, that was cool. Jane, my lady, thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out. UFO Jane, Texas researcher. Check her out. Well, you can tell everybody where they can find your stuff. Jane, be the face of your channel.
Yeah, UFO Jane. If you're in Texas, I mean, there's TexasUFOsightings.com for the ongoing sites and Facebook, and then outside of Texas, well, in Texas too, weekly videos on YouTube. So just search UFO Jane, and then I'm everywhere. You can search me and find me.
She's easy to find. All right, thank you, Jane. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Later, Jane.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, gentlemen.
That was fun.
I knew I didn't have to do any show prep because I knew that was going to go longer. No, it was going to go longer than what we normally go. I just knew it. But I mean, it's a conversation we need to start having, man. Like,
I love it.
I like that we can press him, and he doesn't get pissed. He doesn't get flustered.
He's a good guy.
He stays very calm, even keeled. Even when you question him on, like, look, we can't take this idea of consciousness that we kind of understand and this idea of physics that we kind of understand and just smash them together and then boom, but if we had said that to anybody else, not anybody, but if you throw it like that at a lot
Danny
of folks,
Sheehan would have fucking flipped out.
I don't know. No, Danny wouldn't have flipped out. Danny doesn't flip out. I mean,
offensive.
It's easy to get defensive, correct? And he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's great.
He's really good at not getting defensive because he's like, look, I'm just here to find what you guys want to find, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Tonight is another example of why I support you, amazing humans, from Byron McDonald. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Mike?
I've shared that with you before. You know, I've experienced altered states of consciousness where I 100% believed that I was connecting with you know.
That's fair, but you also were on drugs.
Altered state of consciousness, correct?
And it might be true. The problem is, you got to prove it to other people, right?
Right. That's the thing, man. Like I said, even if all of us went out there, let's say we got 12 different camera angles of it, but they were still little dots in the sky on 12 different angles, I think we'd still have an issue. Like, no one would believe us. It would be it's hard, dude. It's hard. It's hard to take that stuff. But can you imagine if, say, 2 million people were doing this? Who knows, man?
Who knows?
I mean,
man, I'm in for the ride, bro.
Yeah, I'm in for the ride. I'm here with you, dude. I'm right there with you. All right, you guys. We didn't even get to the John Greenwald article. Again, I wanted to talk about it. So we'll talk about it Friday or tomorrow.
We'll get there.
Basically, the U.S. military has taken materials from apparent crashed objects and will probably never see them again. Long story short. But we'll talk about it more on either tomorrow or Friday. $5 donation here, last second. If they are offended, then it's about them, not about reality. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I think that's a fair statement, rather.
Yeah, I mean, it can be about both for some people,
right.
But I think that's a good sentiment.
Depends on if you're being a dick or not, though, doesn't it?
Right.
We weren't being dicks.
No. I don't think we were at all. I think we had a fun conversation with great dialogue and back and forth and sharing of ideas and perspectives. So I thought that was awesome. So
are you doing TV3 next weekend, guys?
Yeah, we're doing it next weekend. Actually, yes, you can go to the website, thebigphonehome.com, and go send your senators and congressmen a weekly reminder. Yes, we do it every weekend. It's just there'll be no show to go with it. You could rely on the 29 hours of show that we just did for you guys Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then the week of shows we did this week. So go check it out. But yeah, the Big Phone Home website is not shut down. Continue to sign the petition. Continue to send email templates. Continue to print them out and mail them. It's all good, baby. Yeah.
Oh, I did have one more comment I wanted to make about the kind of pseudoscience sort of thing, and like well, not pseudoscience, but like what's the word when you're exploring alternate maybe it is pseudoscience. Anyway, I think it's important to entertain different ideas that are way out there and wacky, because sometimes it clicks something that allows you to find a straighter path to the truth. So I think it's valuable.
Definitely valuable. And I'd like to see a lot more scientists, like actual scientists, instead of jerks like us, like proposing these ways of thinking. Like, it just blows my mind. Why are the morons telling the scientists, hey, can you just be more open-minded? I don't like why we have to tell them that. I have no clue. But anyway, you guys, thank you all so damn much for coming aboard and getting weird with us here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name is Luis Jimenez. That is Rather Be Squidding. That is Michael Mataluni. Want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. Want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Of course, check out our links below. They've got our Patreons. They've got our Spotify and iTunes podcast links. So download the show if you're on the road. Anything else, you guys? Am I missing anything?
Like, subscribe, share.
Like, subscribe, share. I like that, Michael. All right, guys. Be good. Peace. I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Do you want to know about the future? I do. and I know you do too. That's why we do what we do, right here at the Singularity Lab, just for you. Do you want to know about stories about breaking technology? Science? Look right here, I'm looking at my sheet. Marty did it, why can't you? Remember, this is a public access channel. We rely on your donations, so just hit the Patreon. So we can continue to bring you updated science and technology, breaking news every single day.
I believe you're enjoying all this. Indeed, Captain. I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up.
Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.